everybody, welcome. We are back. It is a big day today. Can you believe it? We're finally going to see the next Starship. I can't believe it. It's been like 3 months. All of the FAA, FCC, MIB, all of the delays and all of the things that they have to go through. It's just unbelievable. Even, what was it? Fish and Wildlife, I think, had to agree that everything was all right. I don't even know. It's been quite a time, but that's what always happens. How's everyone going? I see we have a whole bunch of people ready in the chat. I was going to go live earlier, but I had a problem with my computer. I had to reboot it. I don't know. It's just been a time. I ended up having a new, I think it was like a Elgato card that went bad. I had to put a new Elgato card in there. So anyways, it is what it is. It's good to have backup, like I always say, right? So let me say hello to everyone. Today's going to be, we're just hanging out, right? We're going to watch this launch. I'm really excited about this because this is the beginning, in my personal opinion, to something really, really amazing. And that's once we see the large satellites in orbit, and we're going to end up with faster speeds, lower latency, everything else. And I noticed in the chat, a lot of people are saying they're already getting faster speeds. So that's really good. Gala Girl's here. How are you doing? You know what, guys? Do me a favor. In the comments, let me know if audio sounds all right and everything else, because like I said, I had to reboot and redo all of this stuff. It was just, anyways, take a look, let me know. Let's see here. Audio sounds great. I appreciate that, Kevin. So let's say hello to everybody. Gala Girl, thank you for being here. Peter is up and he's here, our moderator. Thank you so much, Peter, as always. Thank you, Mark. How are you doing? Middle NZ, nice, sweet. Peter Gosling's here. Oh, wow, 7-month membership premium sub. Thank you so much. Let's go Starship. I can't believe, like I said, this is going to be awesome. Let's hope it doesn't blow up. I want to see it get actually into orbit, so we will see what ends up happening this morning, but either way, we'll be watching for it. It's saying that X or SpaceX will be going live at 8:29, so we'll switch over to that as soon as they do. So we'll see what ends up happening. Hopefully there's no delays. Weather looks permitting, so we'll see. Let's see. Mark, how are you doing? Let's see what we're going with Starbase here. Let's see. Question when it starts. So Mark, it will be starting very soon. Supposedly, like I said, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. So within about 10 minutes, they are going to start going live over there. We're going to start listening to them. When they do, it could be 30 minutes, could be an hour, somewhere right on there that they'll actually launch. So not that long, actually, not that long. So if you want to go and grab your tea like I have here today, what do we got? We have some Fireside. So grab a cup of tea, cup of coffee. We're hanging out. Patricia, thank you so much for being here. Let's see. Daniel, how are you doing? Inductive Soul. Tea is a must. Absolutely. Just like coffee. Absolutely. This is the day for the tea for sure. Chad, thank you for being here. Member, look at that membership. I like the star after the name. He's in green. There's a lot of new members because there was, I think it was on the last live on Friday, The Bomb is what he goes by. He is The Bomb. Literally gifted, I think it was 45 or 50 free memberships to all of these people. So if you were one of those, once again, if The Bomb comes on today, definitely say thank you to him once again. That was quite amazing. Let's see, Patricia. Let's see. How are you doing? Mark, we said hello to Mark. We'll go back and get through some of the questions. Just want to say hello to some people. If you are here hanging out, do me a favor in the chat window. Just say hello. Just say hello. Let's see, Peter. We have Gypsy Stallion. I love it. Saying the audio's fine. KJ, how are you doing? Rod, Tim. Big Daddy 79, thank you for being here. Marcel, let's see. Teresa, how are you? Once again, if you're here hanging out, say hello. Throw something into the chat. Tower Dog, how are you doing? Saying the audio is good. Reactive Texan. Love it. Good morning, Eric. And the bomb. He does show up. Once again, the bomb did gift, I think it was like 45 or 50 free memberships the last time. That was just amazing. Really, really loved that. And I'm sure a lot of you guys with those little stars after your name, some of you at least, were gifted that from the bomb. So say thanks once again to him. Tom, how are you doing? Eric from Houston, how's it going? How big is your cup? This is actually a smaller cup. This is little. This is like a standard cup. Normally I have the big, massive cup, but we're just going standard. We might go and refill it, but once again, this is going to be just like a hangout, a relaxed morning. Robert, how are you doing? Thank you for saying hello from Malaysia, the Philippines. Jordan, how are you? Wow. Unbelievable. So let me get up. Let me get back up to the top and see if there's any kind of questions. If you have a question, like Peter always says, put a Q before your question. It'll just make it so much easier for me to see it in the chat. And then also, you could put at JCristina, and that will pop up too for me. So I'll be able to see it much easier. Let's see. That chat window is running, so that's kind of nice. Let me see if I can control that. That's like kind of a mess. Let me just move this down so it could be smaller. It doesn't need to be this big. Let me just kind of resituate that. I think something like that should work. Hang in there, guys. We don't want it to be a mess. There we go. I think that's good. So while I'm finishing this, once again, any kind of questions, put them in the window there with the chat window with that at JCristina, or as Peter says, put a Q before it. Both of them will work. It doesn't make any much of a difference. Both will work. All right. I think that's pretty good. We will leave that there. I want to make sure that my other screen works so that we can go live the other way. So yeah, there we go. We can switch me around. We're good. This is almost like professional. I don't even know about that, but we're getting close. And let me just make sure we can go full screen with it too, because we will need to do that. Let's see. That's good. And this is good. And yeah, I think that should work. We will look into it. All right. Bear with me. And we should have a main cam too. We do. Excellent. We're here and it's working. That's always a plus. So let's get into some of these questions that you might have, and then we will start watching them. Probably within about 2-3 minutes they should go live. Let's see. Gala Girl says, anyone else? Anyone back to asleep? No sleep. You're not allowed to sleep. This is the big day. We've been waiting for this for a while. Like I said, it's been 3 months. It's one of those things that they should be able to launch one of these every month. So that's their goal, is every month to launch another Starship. But for some reason, well, it's not even some reason, they just, they make it difficult. And like I was saying at the very beginning, it's all of these 3-letter organizations that constantly stall and make things, just slow things down. And we see China, they're already getting into their StarNet, is what they're calling it, which is Starlink, but their version. And they're doing a Super Heavy and a Starship also. But they copy everything, right? It's that's just how they are. But regardless, they are doing it, but they don't have regulations. It's like the CCP says, listen, go. And they just go. And if they launch it and they blow it up and they might kill a couple of people on the ground, do you think they really care? They really don't. Are they worrying about any type of small ivy growing on the floor or a fish or something? They just don't. Now, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's a thing. And we need to keep that in mind while we're, let's say, slowing down or impeding Elon Musk, SpaceX, from doing what he does, or doing what they do. So that's my personal opinion. What do you guys think? I just want to see them kind of cut through some of this regulation. That would be really nice. The problem that I see, and I don't know if you guys see it that way, a lot of these organizations, they work on, or they are run by a board or by people that are on a specific side of the fence. So if you guys didn't know it, if there is a Democrat in office, okay, then they run the whole situation, like the FAA, for example, 3 Democrats and 2 Republicans. That's how they work it. If there's a Republican that's in office, then they run it 3 Republicans and 2 Democrats. Do you see where that's a problem? What happens is they vote on party lines instead of voting for us. And that to me is bullshit, and I think a lot of people that can rub 2 brain cells together are going to think the exact same thing, and that's what's been going on. So it's a problem. It's a major problem, but I just don't see a way around it. I just hope that they see that that is an issue and they kind of let go a little bit. So once again, like I was saying, their goal is to launch 1 Starship per month, which to me is amazing. That's pretty damn good. 1 Starship per month. We'll see. Let's see. Let's switch that back over to here. All right. Let me go to here. All right. Perfect. And I don't think this one would work. No, that is from before. Okay, great. Bear with me, guys. Okay. All right, so let's get right into a couple of these questions, and then we'll take it from there. Let's see, what do we have here? How's it going over there, Big Daddy? Big Daddy 79. I love that. That's awesome. Let's go down here. Once again, Inductive Soul, lifetime membership, lifetime sub. Thank you so much for that. That's really appreciated. All the super chats and the memberships and all that, it really helps out the channel. It helps out me, helps out the family. Really do appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's see. Good morning from Georgia. Terrence, how you doing? Done. Let's see. All right. I have to give you like a tidbit here. Every once in a while, I wrote down a couple of things that I found fascinating with Elon, and maybe during the course of this whole entire thing, I'll give you some of these tidbits because I find it interesting. Elon Musk taught himself to computer program at the age of 12 and created a video game called Blastar, which he sold for $500. I thought that was very interesting. I'm like, wow. That's just crazy, and that's just who he is and what he does, making a computer game at the age of 12. So I don't know. The other thing that I thought was interesting is that the whole Tony Stark thing from Marvel was literally based around Elon Musk, his life, what he does. Iron Man 2, and he did have a cameo in Iron Man 2. He was interacting with Tony Stark at the party. And I didn't even realize that. And I watched that movie countless times. And then when I read this, I'm like, I'm going to have to watch again. And sure damn enough, he was talking, hanging out with Tony. And he was just like some other guy. And it ended up being Elon. So I thought that was pretty cool. Very cool. Let's see. Yes, Peter, I appreciate that. Smash that like button. Tell your friends, family, colleagues, anybody. Tell the folks on Reddit, let them come over, hang out. What we got? T-minus, it says 20. So supposedly it's supposed to go live at 29 a.m., but we don't see it yet. Let me refresh. Let me see if it's if they are just delayed. We'll see in 1 second. Yeah, looks like it's not coming yet. So they are still delayed because now it's saying starting at 8:52. So 8:52 is the time instead of 8:30. That's Eastern Standard Time. So they pushed it back an additional 30 minutes. So chances are on the ground they're having some type of issue. This happens all the time. But hopefully it's not that big of an issue. We'll see. We will see. I'm not going anywhere. We're going to hang out and enjoy this. Once again, any questions? put them in the chat window. Let's have a discussion. Let's talk about it. Rod, how are you doing, Rod? We have Eric. How's it going, Eric Maslin? Good morning, Joseph from Ohio. Go Tigers. Phil's camping. 10:30 up here in Queensland. Wow. Wow. Let me see. Bear with me. I am going to also, I'm going to check out a couple of feeds simultaneously. So maybe we can get some inside scoop here. Right, here we go. There it is. No, that doesn't seem to be going out. That's good. Can't beat that. Yeah, it looks like it was pushed back to 30 minutes. So right now we're showing T minus 51 minutes. T minus 51 minutes. All right. Yeah, so they are fueling it up. So let me see if I can get another. Let me see here. All right. Yep, they are definitely fueling it up. They're delayed by about 30 minutes to an hour. It is what it is. Let's see here. You know what? I'm going to see if I can pull up maybe another coverage at the same time. So bear with me. Let's see if we can get maybe NSF's coverage. We'll get that in the background too. Let's see. We're doing this ad hoc on the fly. All right, good. All right, here we go. Let's see. Browser. Great. All right, hang in there with me, guys. Let me see if we can get this thing going. Hopefully, this would be kind of cool if we can get their coverage at the same time, and we'll do double. All right. Okay, good. Bear with me, guys. All right, here we go. This should work. What we're gonna do is we're gonna bring up NSF coverage because they always do a great job, and see if we can get that going in the background. Well, I want to give them credit. It's hard to get it to actually get in there very well, but we'll do the best that we can. There we go. I think that's pretty good. How does that look? I think that's looking pretty good, right? On the fly, we did it. I think it looks pretty decent. So anyways, we can see what is going on. They're actually covering it at the same time. They do a great job. The guys, the folks over there, they do a fantastic job. I will throw that in here so this way that you guys can see it at the same time. And then we can watch that in the background. Anyways, let me just get into a couple of these questions, and then we'll kind of get through it. Well, they're saying that this is supposedly it's going to be that the new window, which is half an hour later, but you know, it's hard to tell sometimes because they have, I think it's a total of like 100. Like 110 or 100, there's a certain amount of time that they have a window when they can launch. And if they don't make it in that period of time, then they're pretty much dead in the water. Yeah, NSF's got 99,000 watching. They always have a ton. They have, what's really nice about them is they actually have cameras on the ground there, which is really cool. And I love that. They do a really good job doing commentary. They do a good job. They actually have folks there on the ground. It's just really cool. I think Alien Space, is live there too. I think she's doing something. So it's really good. One day, I think we'll get out there to Texas and cover one, but it just really, it's not an easy thing. We do have family in Texas, so that's kind of nice. Maybe we can make it into a visit too, but we're hanging out here in the studio. It's still fun. I love being able to kind of talk about this stuff with you because the majority of the people that are watching here, we're like, let's say off-gridders, right? We're more like the Starlink folk that are just recently got it, let's say, and now their lives have been revolutionized. That's kind of like who we are, a little bit different than some other folks out there, right? So I really enjoy you guys for it, and a lot of you love like the whole off-grid stuff, the solar and all this kind of thing. So once again, any kind of questions that you have, let me know and we'll get into them. Let me get up to the top over here. Launch time, once again, that's pushed forward. We are now at a launch time, or a live for them at 8:52. That's Eastern Standard Time. We're at 8:40 right now, so figure on about 12 minutes from now. We will see that. So let's see. Bear with me 1 second. We're good with this. Let me see if we can move that over to the other screen too. Let me go to here. Bear with me. All right, that works. And we will paste this reference here. Did that work? It looks like it worked. That's cool. And we'll put that down here. Excellent. And then I can actually have my mug on the screen at the same time. We still have all of the chats on the chat window, so that's fantastic. Once again, we're kind of ad hocing it. We had problems, if you guys are new and you just got here, we had problems with our Elgato card. It's like a 4-channel or 4-port Elgato card that just kind of went south. I ended up having to replace that in the middle of the night last night. It's been a thing. But luckily, I have a backup. You know me, I'm always about the backup. Without a backup, it just doesn't happen. It just let's see. Inductive Soul says, I hear they plan on having Starship come down in Madagascar. Yes, that is true. So normally they would, they originally wanted to land just north of Hawaii, and they moved that from Hawaii to the Indian Ocean. And the reason being is they're doing extra things, let's say, in space. So normally it was going to be like 90 minutes, I think. Now it's going to be like 100 minutes or 110 minutes around the Earth. So there's a couple of things that they want to do still in space. And one of them was, I think they're going to test out the Pez dispenser, or they're going to test out just launching a single satellite or an object or something into space to make sure that everything is opening properly. But also the biggest thing that they're going to be doing if they get there is to transfer fuel. Fuel transfer is a major, major issue. Fuel transfer is going to make it by getting fuel transfer to work, they'll be able to transfer fuel from one starship to another starship. So basically what that means is we now become, let's say, we have a means to have like a gas station in Leo, pull up next to it, refill the tanks, and then launch back, let's say, to the moon or to Mars or wherever. So it takes so much fuel to break our, to get out of our atmosphere, right? The amount of pull that the Earth has, the gravitational pull, causes the craft to have to expend so much propellant just to break free of the Earth. Once you're out of the atmosphere, let's say, and you're away, let's say in Leo, there's very little drag left. There's still drag, but very little. So taking a ship, docking it to a ship or a gas station in Leo, right? Docking it, refilling it, peeling off, and then going to the moon. Well, all of that fuel that you now have on that secondary vehicle is just a ton, because you don't need that much. You don't need that much propellant to be able to get to the moon, or to get to Mars for that matter. So chances are they'll probably put, if this all works, they'll probably put a gas station that orbits around Earth. They'll probably also put a gas station that orbits around the moon that possibly might be on the moon with a space station on the moon. And then they'll be able to launch, like, for example, from the moon to Mars. That's probably how they're going to do it. I don't know. Obviously, I don't work for them, but it just simply makes sense that that's how they'll end up doing it. The idea of just having, a HESS station or a mobile sitting in Leo, I think is just fascinating. But like I said, they have to be able to move fuel, and that's one of the things that they're going to do. They're going to be moving fuel from one tank to another tank. I also heard that they're going to refire one of the rocket engines in space, and that has never been done before. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Remember, it's, zero atmosphere, zero oxygen, 0, 0, 0, null, everything, and still be able to fire up an engine. How they're doing it, I don't know. I haven't researched it, but I think that's just amazing. But it needs to be done, because if it, if an engine goes out, it's no longer lit. How do you get it fired up in space if it's out? So they're working on that. Let's see. David says, guys, don't go to fake SpaceX YouTube streams if there's QR codes on the screen. It's not SpaceX. Absolutely. Yeah, that happens a lot. You always have the shadies and the charlatans out there that do this kind of stuff. It's just, it's one thing doing commentary like we do, but what they do is they'll put like QR codes, and they'll put like all kinds of websites to go to, and then you end up with some type of malware or something. So yeah, be careful. Dave is 100% correct here. Eric says, if this flight is successful, how many more test flights do you think before they start flying payloads with Starship? So I would say that they would need at least 3 flights, maybe 4, maybe probably like 3, before they would say, okay, we feel pretty confident. Because remember, this flight, they're going to be coming in hot, all right? And they're going to splash down now Madagascar, right, in the Indian Ocean. Now, the next time, instead of splashing down and then just coming in hot and just doing it, what they'll end up doing is the ship would come in, right? And instead of just splashing into the ocean, it would come in, then right itself, and then slowly land into the ocean, right? That's like a precursor to Starship actually landing on the back of a drone ship, right? Or landing back, let's say, in Texas, or whatever the case is. So they're going to practice that, uprighting it and then slowly landing it into in an exact spot. Because remember, it has to land on a bullseye. We see that all the time with Falcon 9s. I thought that's one of the things that makes it different than every other launch company. I don't care if it's ULA, if it's Alien, Arian Space, or if it's Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin. It doesn't matter. None of them have reusability, right? They are getting things into orbit. It's an expendable thing, right? So they lose it. Whereas with SpaceX, it's not lost. It lands back once again on a drone ship. There's no one even on the ship. And the ship comes back. They refuel it. Some of these Falcon 9s have been launched 20 times or more, which is just amazing, that reusability, instead of having to discard it every single time. So the Chinese are working on that too. Of course they are. And they have landed some smaller rockets, smaller than the Falcon 9. And they've done it upright without blowing them up. So that's pretty cool. I mean, it's really, really cool. It's definitely something to keep an eye out on. So anyways, yeah, that to answer your question, it will probably be, I would say let's say fourth quarter of 2024, we're going to see a payload of Starlinks in orbit, in my personal opinion. Will that happen? I don't know, but I really do think it will, because as long as the FCC, the FAA, the Fish and Wildlife people, and all the rest of these hokey ass organizations, they're just literally ass clowns. As long as they stay out of SpaceX's way. Now, that doesn't mean just give them full reign, just, unfeathered and just go blow shit up. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about literally just kind of letting go a little bit and not be so nuts about this stuff. And then also not be so partisan about it. Don't vote on party lines just because, currently there's 5 Democrats and there's 3 Democrats and 2 Republicans out of the 5. Don't vote on the party lines. Actually vote for us. The same thing if a Republican was in there, right? Same thing. Now all of a sudden it'll be 3 Republicans and 2 Democrats. Don't vote on party lines. Actually vote for the people. And I think that's one of the problems that we have today with, the U.S. and government in general. Not to get into a government whole thing, but it's so partisan. It's like, I don't care what part. I mean, I'm kind of like a neutral guy. I don't care. I just vote non-stupidity, in my personal opinion. I just, whatever. I don't care who it is. But the bottom line is this is what they do, and it makes it really difficult. And if we want to move forward with our space program, unlike what NASA has done in the past, where it would take NASA 10 years to do X, whatever it is, pardon the pun, it will take SpaceX 10 months, a full order of magnitude quicker. I mean, well, to me, that makes more sense than to, do this nonsense that they're constantly making it slower and slower. It's not going to help. Let's see. Adam says T-minus 51 minutes. Absolutely. I am still seeing that it's showing now 8:52 a.m. So supposedly in 2 minutes, they're going to start moving to their live feed. We will switch over to them as soon as they do. Everyone, thank you for being here. If you are new, you never hung out with me or taken a look at any of my 250 some videos, I am the guy that constantly makes SpaceX Starlink videos, because I ended up getting SpaceX Starlink because I have the horrible AT&T service, DSL, and then finally Uverse. And I'm in a rural area. Instead of AT&T actually taking all of that funding and doing what they said to do and run the fiber last mile to my home and to my office, they didn't. So SpaceX and Elon was able to do it. I'm very happy for it, and that's why I do what I do. So I put together 255 videos on helpful how-tos and tips and tricks and stuff like that. Check that out when you're done watching this video. There's a whole bunch of good stuff in there. For the last 29 months, I've done coverage on it, and I've helped a lot of people out and probably sold a lot of Starlinks. And I am not affiliated with Elon or any of his companies either. I just do it because I appreciate what they're doing. And I really truly appreciate being able to have high-speed internet where I never had it before. So anyways, that's kind of the skinny behind me and what I do. Let's see. We are still showing 8:52. It is 8:52 now, but nothing is going. So I guess they're still on hold. Let me refresh that and see if they're actually pushing it forward again. This is possible. Let's see. Nope, it still says 8:52. So we will see if it comes online or not. Kevin said, yeah, but this is a cooler channel. I appreciate that. 99,000 people on NSF. Yeah, that's why we're playing their feed over there. Once again, shout out, call out to them. They do a fantastic job, an awesome job. Absolutely awesome. And they have boots on the ground, so they have cameras there and everything else. Obviously, we're going to watch the actual coverage from SpaceX as soon as they go live. But In the meantime, we're kind of watching some of their stuff in the background for some nice, pretty pictures. Let's see. Let's see. Inductive Soul says JC Hangout. My Dishy update went for 100. So the update now 150 megabits down. To over 200 megabits down. A lot of people are saying the exact same thing. Their speeds are already getting faster. Remember, I did a video yesterday and I was talking about how they are now authorized to backhaul using a new frequency from, let's say, it's like 71 to 76 gigahertz and 81 to 86 gigahertz. One for downstream, one for upstream. And that is a open frequency. No one else is using it right now. So they're going to be able to really backhaul. When I say backhaul, backhauling is basically taking the data that goes from the satellites that goes back down to the ground station. That is your backhaul. Satellite to ground station is going to be extremely quick and 4 times the capacity. Like I said in yesterday's video, that's amazing to me. Let's see what else. If you are new here, do me a favor, say hello in the chat just so that I know that you're here. Just I want to recognize you for being here. Rod says, do you think that the new space race is now between the U.S. and China instead of Russia or the USSR? 110%. Russia's technology is extremely old. That being said, NASA has been buying Russian made engines and rockets for a long time, right? So you know, people don't get how close we are linked with Russia. I mean, when President Obama shut down NASA, shut down Discovery and the space shuttle system and the actual NASA themselves, I mean, literally shut it down. And then Bush came into office and finally just put a nix to it completely. We had no way to get to the ISS, right? The International Space Center. So we had no way to get there. We had no way to get refuel, cargo, astronauts, nothing. So we had to actually ride share with the Russians to get there, which, I mean, to me, I think is the most bizarre thing ever. Like, why do we need to use Russia to get to the International Space Center? I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. And at that time, Elon said, hey, we're not getting there now. I think that I can get you there. I can get your cargo there. I can get whatever you need there. And he ended up getting the contract. And see, and now a lot of people are bitching about it, and they really shouldn't be, because now he's basically almost running the whole show. And they gave that to him, because instead of keeping NASA going, they shut it down. Well, you can't shut down. When you make a vacuum, that's the law of nature. That's the universe, right? A vacuum will be filled. And the vacuum was the, let's say, the shutting down of NASA. You can't shut it down and expect nothing to happen. What happened was Elon took over. And that's it. Don't complain about it. And now allow him to do what you couldn't do. That's my personal opinion on it. Allow Elon to do what you couldn't do. Or what you decided not to do, let's say. Once again, 10 months for Elon to get something done where they would take 10 years or more. Let's see. GA Flip says, if successful, how long will it take for them to start launching the bigger satellites? Like I said, I think by the end of 2024, we will see some of the Starlink version 2s, as I call them, the maxis, which would be the full-size versions, or at that time, they'll probably call them Starlink version 3. Because it's been so damn long. These are like the Starlink version 2.0 minis is what's currently being launched into LEO. So I'm gonna guess they'll probably just call them 3.0 because they've probably had so many iterations already. I mean, just using them in war over there, right? In a war-stricken area, they've had to combat hacking like crazy, right? So Starlink is extremely hardened, not because they wanted it to be, is because it was a necessity, right? So Russia's been trying to hack Starlink for quite some time. And they actually did take Starlink down for a few days at the very beginning of the war, a couple years ago, whatever, a year and a half, whatever it is now. And within 2 days, I think it was, or a day and a half, the engineers over there at SpaceX, Starlink, ended up coming out with a new algorithm, a new program, uploaded it, boom, they weren't able to take them out ever again. So that's amazing. Let me go ahead and refresh what's going on over there at SpaceX. Let's see if they are sending anything. They are. Sweet. Let's go ahead and switch over to them. Let's see. No, bear with me. Here we go. Let's see. Okay. All right. All right, guys, let me go ahead and get that rolling. Bear with me for a second here. All right. Let's see. Well, it looks like we are on. Sweet. They are doing it, guys. Let's see. All right, let's go ahead and listen in, and I'll kind of, if they're too loud...
propellant in this case back, so the propellant is already settled where it needs to be when the Raptors ignite. So just another neat little trick.
All right, guys.
I think of that scene from Apollo 13 when they showed that separation on a Saturn V rocket in the movie, but the astronauts were thrust forward and
Falcon 9 and Heavy boosters, where we've recovered 283
like
to date. Starship's rapid reusability is key as we begin missions to the moon and beyond.
The telemetry and recovery is not all the way to the telemetry and data we'll receive all the way to the end is what we're looking at temperatures during reentry and how the heat shields temperatures during reentry. The data that we gather today, of course, will help us continue to build a rapidly reusable Starship. Much like our first two flight tests, much like today, also still just a test. Our goal is to gather data to continue iterating and ultimately improve Starship.
That's exactly right. The primary goal for Flight 1 was to clear the pad, and we did that and got a lot of great data that helped us improve the vehicle and the pad infrastructure that you see today. The primary goal of Flight 2 was to get all the way to stage separation, which we did, and even got a little extra.
For Flight 3, we've added some ambitious tests highlighted by an attempt to transfer several tons of propellant between the tanks inside Starship itself, as well as the first ever relight of a Raptor engine in space, and the opening and closing of Starship's payload door. When Starship takes astronauts to the lunar surface as part of NASA's Artemis program, it will be refilled in space by a Starship tanker spacecraft before boosting itself into a lunar orbit, like you see here. Transferring a large amount of cryogenic liquid in space has never been done by anyone, ever. So, we'll be looking to get data on some of the fundamental physics in play here, like managing pressures, temperatures, propellant settling, all as we prepare for eventual ship-to-ship transfers. The ability to refill Starships once in orbit will be critical for landing on the moon and is a key technology for enabling deep space exploration and ultimately flights to Mars.
Now, we're also attempting the first ever relight of a Raptor engine in space, and we'll need that capability for future in-space maneuvers and deorbit burns. It's important to note that what we'll attempt today is not a burn required for Starship to re-enter on today's test. We are intentionally flying this new steeper trajectory so we can test things like engine relights without substantially changing where we expect to splash down. And if Starship manages to make it all the way to re-entry, we will collect valuable data on the vehicle as it flies through the Earth's atmosphere at hypersonic speeds, or more than 5 times the speed of sound. We expect it to look something like this animation on your screen with the heat shield tiles facing down. We'll use the Earth's atmosphere to brake the vehicle and then get us into a controllable regime as we go towards splashdown. And we did validate Starship's ability to fly and land at subsonic speeds.
Am I still too low, or am I all right? Let me know, guys. Let me know.
And gathering data on the aspects like heating and vehicle control while we're traveling way faster will become critical to eventually bringing Starships back from space for rapid reuse.
Them or me?
We'll also attempt to open and close Starship's payload door for the very first time, a capability that we'll need when Starship starts flying our next generation Starlink satellites.
Yeah, so it looks like they are going. Do you see that? The little Pez dispenser guys. So it looks like they are going to try opening up that door once again to be able to get the larger Starlink satellites out.
Until liftoff, let's check in with Dan for a countdown update.
T-minus 21 minutes.
Hey, thanks, Kate. Hey, everybody.
So
I'm
they're
Dan
still
Hewitt. Good morning.
going
Welcome
with it.
To Starbase.
That is awesome.
I'm coming to you from the Raptor's Nest, where I'm here with some of our flight controllers, also our Pad Red team. We're just behind the Mega Bay. Those are super heavy boosters right behind me, getting ready for the next 4 flights after this one. So we're looking to launch a lot this year. Countdown has been pretty clean so far. We're not tracking any issues that are gating us on the hardware side and the vehicle side from that on-time liftoff at 8:25 a.m. Central Time. That's our T0 right now. We primarily shifted later as we were just working to clear the range. The other big watch item today is going to be the winds. The winds have started to pick up. We're still looking to be below our limits, but there could be a hold at T-minus 40 seconds just to make sure that the winds are acceptable before we go.
All right.
We are actively loading propellant on board the vehicle. You can see by the frost lines starting to build up.
All right, folks. I think that should be pretty good. Hopefully you can hear me pretty decently. I'm loud, and sometimes I don't want to talk over them and just completely cut them out. I want you guys to be able to hear what they're saying too.
Oxygen as its oxidizer, both of those get cooled down to cryogenic temperatures, so several hundred degrees below zero. And if you followed along with our previous 2 flight tests, the prop load timeline today looks a little bit different.
Bear with me, guys.
Those first flight tests, it took us about 90 minutes to load all of the prop on board. But since the second flight, we made some pretty significant upgrades to make that time shorter. We added some additional fuel and LOX pumps just to increase our capacity. We expanded the number of heat exchangers and installed a dedicated filter line for each stage.
Let them do their thing.
Now they each have their own. That's just that main pathway to get the propellant to the vehicle.
So what I want to do is, and like I said before, if you guys are new in the chat window, let me know who you are. Peter says, sounds great now. Thank you so much for that, Peter. I really appreciate you. Listen to Peter. Peter is the moderator, so he's going to try to keep everything in control. Once again, Q before, as he always says, Q before any kind of questions that you have. I'm going to kind of scroll back to see if there's any questions. I want you guys to hear them also. If I'm talking too much over them, you let me know.
Switch over to the header tanks, and then switch back to close out the main
W9HJ, Bill says, what branch of the government these days isn't? And that is true. He's talking to Peter. It's horrible that a lot of the government agencies, these 3-letter agencies, are so partisan because it just doesn't help us, right? Like, I don't care what your politics are. I just want you to, do your job. And your job is to help the people, right? We pay a dear amount of taxes. I mean, we just went through some taxes just recently. I'm like, holy hell, this stuff went up like 30-40%.
But right now we're
in
just
Florida,
about to pass
just
18 minutes
insurance
away from
alone
launch.
is
Winds
crazy,
again,
and
they're
then
still
tax
looking a little
alone
bit
is
marginal,
tax
so we'll
also is
keep
just
an eye on
nuts.
those. We're not
Atomic
working
Nuke says
any
T
other
minus
technical
24
issues,
minutes.
and the range
Yes.
is expected to be
I was
great.
looking
If we
at
can't make our tests
the
today,
number
we
of
have
people
backup launch
watching. Look at that,
opportunities in the
people.
coming
Look at that.
days. Could be 24 to 48 hours. All just depends on how
704,000
far we
people
get
are
into
watching
the
this
count.
feed
So
on
check
X
back in
right
with
now
everybody in just a little
from
bit. For now,
SpaceX.
though, I'm going to send it back to Kate and Shiva out at Hawthorne.
704,000 people.
Thanks,
Think about
Dan.
that. That is
The countdown is
unbelievable.
continuing to
You remember
progress,
when
so let's
X
take a
could not
closer
even
look at
like
the world's
broadcast?
most
Who
powerful
was
launch
it?
vehicle ever developed.
DeSantis, I
Starship
think
is
it was.
comprised
Yeah,
of
Ron.
two elements.
He would.
The
I
ship,
don't. It
which
was like
has 6
it was like
Raptor
audio
engines, and the
only
super
or
heavy
some
booster,
nonsense,
which has
and they couldn't even
33
broadcast
Raptor
that.
engines.
It was like
Starship
dumping
is
all
capable
the
of
time.
about
Here
twice
we
the
have
thrust of the
three-quarters of a
Saturn V
million
rocket,
people
and
watching
with
on
future
X.
engine
No
upgrades, it
problem.
will actually be
I should
3
knock
times
on
as more-
wood, but
3 times
anyways,
more
no
powerful.
problem. That's
Now,
just
with
crazy,
those
absolutely
future
crazy.
improvements, that will allow Starship
Let's
to
see.
carry
Inductive
somewhere
Soul
between
says, will
150 and
Starlink be
250
putting the
metric
big
tons to
satellites
orbit,
they
depending
need
on the
into
configuration. For
that
reference,
220
Falcon 9's heaviest
kilometers?
payload to
If
date
you guys
is
don't
just
know it,
over 17
Starlink
metric
now has
tons.
permission
So with Starship, we're talking about an
to move
order
their
of
satellites
magnitude
from
greater in terms of
530
payload
kilometers
capability to
down
orbit.
to
And that matters
200,
because the amount of mass we're able to
200
launch
kilometers
per
lower,
rocket
so to
is
330
critical to
kilometers.
creating
That's going
a
to make
self-sustaining
our
city
signal,
on
let's say,
Mars.
stronger because we're going to
In
be
terms
lower.
of size,
It's going to be
the
lower
Super Heavy
to
booster alone
the
stands
Earth,
about
number one.
71
But then
meters, or
also it's going
233
to
feet
add
tall,
a greater
and
amount of
is about the
speed,
same
right?
height
Because
as
it
a
is
fully
closer.
integrated Falcon
And
9.
we're going to be on the
The
same
ship
orbital
stands about 50
plane
meters, or
as the
160
Chinese,
feet
because the
tall.
Chinese are
Stacked
putting their
together, the
star
booster and the ship
net
are by
at that
far
200
taller
or
than the Statue of
330
Liberty, which
kilometers.
stands
So
at
this is going to be
305
really a
feet tall
big
with
thing
its base.
for us by
Stacked together,
moving
Starship
down
is
in orbit. But there's
396
going to be a
feet, so,
downside too,
quite
because
a
as
bit
you
taller
lower
there.
that orbit, you have greater
Starship's first
drag. So
stage
those
has a
satellites will
diameter
only
that's
be able
about
to
2.5
stay in
times
orbit
that of
for
Falcon
a,
9, and
let's
we've
say, a
got those
lesser
33
amount of
much
time.
larger
They're going to either
Raptor
have to add
engines.
more
This
fuel,
great view
or they're
of the
going
launch
to
mount
have
looking
to
up
just
at those
understand
engines,
they're just
and we
not
need
going
them
to
to
have
power
as
through the
long
Earth's
of a
atmosphere and
lifespan.
gravity to
I think that they
deliver
don't care about
those
the
massive
lifespan. I don't think they're going to
cargo,
add
and
fuel.
payloads
They're
up
just
to
going to
space.
constantly,
Moving up the rocket,
let's say,
Starship is
replace
designed
the
for
ones
vertical
that burn
takeoff
up
and
in
landing
orbit.
on
So
any hard
that's my
surface.
personal opinion.
And
So
that's
it's
as
really
opposed
exciting.
to taking off and
Really,
landing on a
really
runway
exciting.
as aircraft do. And that's
So
important
what?
because there are no
So
runways on the Moon
W9
and Mars where we're going.
HJ
The
says. So
ship, which
what
we're looking
will
at
the
now,
capacity of the
features
Gen
6
2
Raptor
Maxes
engines.
be?
3 of them are sea-level
As
engines,
opposed to the
3 of them are
Generation 2
vacuum
minis.
engines. That means that those
About
vacuum
4
engines
times the
are optimized
capacity,
with a larger
and that's
engine
just
nozzle
right now
to
what they're
operate
saying.
in
I
the
think it's going to
vacuum
be even
space
more
and
than
get
4
higher
times the
performance.
capacity.
The ship is
They're
also
also going to
outfitted with
have
4
the E-node
flaps to help
Bs built into
aerodynamically
it, meaning
control
that
the
they are
vehicle's
going to act
attitude
as
during
cell towers,
atmospheric flight
like
and
the new
enable a
satellites that we're
precise-
seeing right now,
excuse me,
cell towers
enable
in
a
space, so you'll be able to pick up
precision
your phone,
The body
go
of Starship
outside and
is
make
also
a call,
wrapped in a
or
heat shield made
chat,
up of
or even
18,000
watch a video.
hexagonal ceramic
So
tiles. Those are
the
designed
phone
to insulate
companies,
the
the
vehicle
telcos
during
should be
atmospheric
scared. They
entry,
should be
where
shaking their
temperatures can
boots
be as high
because
as
Elon Musk says, "Oh, we're
2,600
just using
degrees Fahrenheit.
backhauling
One of our
through these
test objectives
companies,
today
through
is
their,
to verify
you
how
know, through their
Starship systems
spectrum,
and
blah,
thermal
yada, yada,
protection
yada."
system
No,
tiles
the
perform
telcos
during
need to be
reentry.
worried about what Elon's doing. I
And
said
in
it from day
between
one.
the
Trust
first
me.
and second
Trust me.
stages is our
They need
hot
to be
stage,
worried.
which is critical
Anyways,
for our
that being
newest
said,
separation technique, which we saw in
let's
action
see what we
during
got here.
flight test 2.
814,000 people now watching. T minus
first
14
for our
minutes
team.
and
Hot
counting.
staging had never been done
Look
before
at
as
this.
part of a reusable
Look at that.
space
The cooling. You can see
transportation
where it's cooled
system,
to.
let
You
alone
can
on a
see the
vehicle with
frozen
size
ring.
and power of Starship.
Holy goodness.
Now, at about
That
liftoff
is
plus
amazing.
2.5
Absolutely
minutes,
amazing.
the booster shut down most of its 33 engines, leaving just 3 of them running.
I'll look at
and
some
then the
questions
ship
and we'll listen to them for a
simultaneously
minute.
ignited all 6 of its engines. Some clamps separated and the ship thrusted away. That was the first in-flight test of the heat shield, and we were able to gather a ton of valuable valuable data about hot staging.
We maximize the vehicle's performance by leaving 3 first-stage engines on, so gravity can't rob us of precious velocity, or at least not as much. Hot staging also helps to ensure the ship's liquid propellants are at the bottom of the propellant tanks, which is where we need them to be in order to quickly light the ship's engines. It also reduces risk at stage separation because it creates a passive staging system so that physics will be doing the work instead of mechanical parts pushing the 2 stages away from each other. Ultimately, hot staging could increase Starship's payload to orbit capacity by 10%, which directly translates to more payload and more people to the Moon and Mars.
Now, the first stop will be the Moon, and the SpaceX team has been hard at work proving out all of the systems necessary to make that possible. Critical systems for propulsion, life support, and even the elevator that you see here which will take crew and cargo from the Starship hatches down to the lunar surface, are currently in development. And the data that we gather from each test flight helps inform their design.
That's amazing.
Here we've got a photo of some of the mock-up suits
so let me see. Let me get into some of the questions. Rod, it says 978 watching NSF. Yeah, NSF has some great coverage going on over there. We were watching some of their feed earlier. Good stuff. Very good stuff.
Super cool.
They're at 900,000 watching SpaceX on X right now. So if Elon Musk wasn't pissed with the whole Google thing and he was broadcasting, or SpaceX was broadcasting on YouTube, there would be millions of people watching. I'm sure 1.5 million or more. But since it's on X, there's not as many people that are into the whole Twitter thing. You got a lot of folks that just they don't know about Twitter, they don't know about X, they don't know that they can watch feeds over there. So I think that it would be over 1.5 million, probably closer to 2 million if they actually would broadcast on YouTube too.
And spread out over thousands of launches.
And today's flight test is
let me get
one
to
more step
some
toward
of these questions.
Currently at T-minus 11 minutes, 47 seconds. Let's check in with Dan once again for a countdown update.
Hey, Kate. Still good news from down here at Starbase. We're not tracking any technical issues that are going to block us to a launch. Our T0 time still holding to 8:25 a.m.
JV Hangout was talking about StreamYard. Yeah, StreamYard works out pretty good too.
The real thing we're going to keep an eye on.
I like OBS being in control of stuff, but there is things that it can't do.
Either let winds die down, make sure we're in the right structural limits, everything like that.
Let's see, Tennessee Wirehead says China and Russia are building a bootleg version of Starlink. Yeah, absolutely. Will their satellites be integrated to SpaceX satellites, global defense? Absolutely not. China will have their own satellites, Russia their own satellites, the U.S. their own satellites. That's just basically how it is.
And then booster, both fuel and LOX over 80%. So looking good there. The launch pad itself is getting ready for liftoff. We commanded the booster hold downs open already about 20 minutes ago or so.
So we have T-minus, according to what they're saying, 10 minutes and 30 seconds. To overcome
its weight, your thrust to weight ratio goes over 1, it's going to lift off. We don't have a command to actually release the hold downs once it starts up. Just also a reminder, actual liftoff happens a few seconds after you see those.
Let's just hope that it actually doesn't get held.
And then a few seconds before Starship
I mean, just
really
by looking at the
skies.
picture, there is a lot of cloud cover.
Land, sea, air, all clear.
A lot of cloud cover.
Count down.
Sometimes that ends up being an issue, sometimes not, but we will see. Let's hope not. I was hearing that weather was going to be okay, but you never know. You never can tell.
Now, if you've been following SpaceX over the years, you've no doubt.
Oh wow! Thank you so much. Tower Dog gifted 5 memberships. So we have Atomic Nukes and Bees just got a free gift.
We've landed Falcon 9
Phil's
and Falcon
Camping,
Heavy boosters,
free gift.
283
ASRJ,
times.
free
That's first
gift.
doing
Daniel,
so
congratulations. And Puck
and with Starship,
Elf.
our mission is to
Look
take
at that.
reusability
Free
even
memberships
further
on
by reflying
Tower
both
Dog.
stages
Tower Dog,
with
thank you so
little
much.
downtime
Once
between
again, that
flights.
really helps out
And
a
we
lot.
plan
And
to fly
it gets
as
people
often as
in
possible.
here. And now,
As we
look,
mentioned earlier,
there's
rapid
5
and complete
new
reusability
members.
is critical to
Thanks
enabling
to
routine
Tower Dog.
spaceflight.
Really
The
appreciate
team at
that.
Starbase has
All the
been
super
hard
chats,
at work
everything you guys do
developing and
is
manufacturing the
always
hardware
warmly
that will
welcome
ultimately
and
take humans
appreciated.
back
Thank
and
you.
forth
Thank
to the
you.
moon and Mars.
Now, even though we are not recovering Starship today, test
So,
flights
T-minus
like these
9
provide
minutes.
the critical data that we need through every phase of flight.
Let's just keep
and
it going.
That data informs future missions
No,
and gets us to that
SW
future
Florida
where starships
says,
are being
is this
recovered and
in
rapidly
Florida?
reflown.
No, this is Texas.
Our teams are
This
also
is
working on the
Texas.
ground systems
Hopefully,
that will support rapid reusability.
we will see.
When we start
We will
recovering
see
Starship
a
boosters, we'll want them to return to the launch site for a
Starship
quicker
pad
turnaround.
in Florida.
As you can see
I think it's going to
here,
happen, guys.
depicted
I
in
really
this
do think it's going to
animation on your
happen.
screen.
And the reason being
This
is
is when the
the
tower reveals
cadence
its
in which
dual
these things
purpose.
are going to
After
launch.
the
I love
arms
that.
or
Look at that. The
chopsticks on the
chopsticks
tower
just
will
grabs
help
it.
guide the booster
So
into
that right
position
there
to ensure
is what's
a
going to
soft
end up
landing.
happening in the
Now, if you're
future.
thinking that
But
this sounds
today,
hard or
that's not
even
going to happen. They're going to actually
impossible to
land
do,
it
well,
in the
that's the
Indian
inspiration
Ocean
for
right around
naming them
Madagascar. So
chopsticks. Some of you might
that's what's
recall
going to
a
happen
little
today.
film called
as long
The
as nothing
Karate
blows
Kid,
up
where Mr.
beforehand.
Miyagi famously taught the main character,
Eventually, they're going to
Daniel,
be doing the
that if he could
chopsticks
reach,
and it's going to land.
excuse me, that
So,
if he could
but
catch a
anyways,
fly
yeah,
with
no,
chopsticks, he could
I would love to
accomplish
see it
anything.
in Florida too.
Now,
Once
today
again,
we
the
do have
cadence,
4
they're looking
ships
to
and
launch
4 super
one
heavy
Starship
boosters
per
built
month.
with more
So if
coming
they
off
can
the
do one
production
in
line
Florida
as our Star
and one in
Factory continues
Texas,
to
let's
grow,
say,
these
and then
vehicles
just
are
kind of
slated
divvy
for
it up.
future flight tests
So
just like
you end up
today's.
every
And
2
in fact,
months per
just
launch
this
pad,
week,
and you
we
still can
static
get
fired
one.
our
The
next
cadence
ship
says
that's
one
planning to
per
fly,
month. So
and expect to
he was
test
looking
the
at
booster
the
as
last
soon as
time
the launch
I
mount is
heard
free from
Elon
today's flight
state he
test.
wanted to see about another
Now,
9
as a reminder,
Starships go up
today
before the
is
end of the
still
year.
just a
If
test.
that is the
While
case,
we
my
really hope to
prediction
get
of
our
seeing
splashdown
the
location
version
in the Indian
3s or
Ocean,
the version
but
2
any
maxis
data
in space by the
received
end
will
of the
help
year
us
is going to come true.
improve.
So
It's the
we will
third
see.
of
We'll see
many
what
future
happens.
flight tests for Starship before it becomes fully operational.
And that's the goal of flight tests. They teach us about the limits of our
Question,
design and improve our
do you foresee the
understanding of
U.S. to
vehicle,
keep the
and
lead
ultimately
in the
help
space
us make
race?
Starship more reliable
Only
and
if
rapidly
they
reusable.
stop with the partisan
so whatever the
bickering
outcome
bullshit,
and
to be
however
completely
far we
honest
get,
with you.
we can promise excitement.
If not,
And
it's
things look like
just
they
not
are
going to
moving
happen. I mean,
fast at
you can,
Starbase,
you know,
and
they
that's
do.
exactly
This
how we
is a
like it.
question from
Yeah, exactly.
Iteration
Donovan
is a key of SpaceX.
Brooke, and he asked, do you
we've
foresee
done
the
it
U.S.
with all of our
to,
major
keep the lead
innovative
in the space
advancements,
race?
including Falcon,
You know,
Dragon,
we lost the
and
lead in the
Starlink.
space race when
we
we
believe that if you're
shut
not
down,
failing,
when
you're
Obama
not
shut
learning
down
and improving the design.
Yeah, many of the innovations that we've developed have
shut down
come
NASA,
from our
basically.
failures.
We
and
couldn't
they
even
teach
get
us
to the
how
ISS,
avoid
like
the
I said.
perils
So
of
we needed
spaceflight.
to
It's a
rideshare,
tough business.
Russian
But all
rockets
of
to
this
be able to get
testing,
our
all the iterative
astronauts and
design
our
allows us to
payloads
make
up
the
into
design
LEO,
better and
into
better
low Earth orbit,
to
which is
do
just,
some of the great
to me,
accomplishments with reflight that
it's
we've
a
had so
travesty.
far.
Exactly. One
It's
of
a
the
but
examples that we love to talk
anyways,
about
there's a lot of
is
stuff.
the
I don't
Dragon
want to get
capsule,
into all
like
that
the one
today.
located
But yeah, there's a
behind
lot of
Shiva
stuff
and
that
I
goes on
here
that I think is just
on the mezzanine.
bizarre.
Originally, it
let's see. Ryan says, please turn the audio down.
Originally,
a tab
it
on
was
the video audio feed. Okay, we can
not
take
designed
it down
to be
just a little bit.
reusable. We wanted to prove the initial
There we go.
design.
You let me know
and then when
if
we
that
brought
is
Dragon
good.
2
Let me know
online,
if it's
we had to do a
too
lot of
hot.
corrosion analysis based on flights that had
Deploy the
splashdown
parachutes,
and
maybe
analysis
hit.
on hardware received there.
Like,
And now
I
our
like it.
Dragons
Yes,
are,
yes, yes.
reusable
20
and,
milliseconds
also
playing
rapidly,
Fortnite last
at a
night.
much rapid
That
pace
is
than they used to
sick.
be.
Yeah.
If you're playing a
So,
first-person
great
shooter
learnings
at
from
20
our original
millisecond
Dragon to our new
latency,
crew and cargo
basically at 20
vehicles
ping,
have directly improved the
you're crushing it.
operations, and they've helped
yeah,
us
this is what
change our
Elon Musk. If
understanding
some of
of
you guys,
what's
you
possible
guys
when
don't
it
know,
comes
it,
to
he
rocket
is
and
a
spacecraft
gamer,
reusability.
right? He's like the Diablo 4
Now,
player.
we're just
He
under
loves
T-minus
first
6
person. He
minutes,
loves
so I think
games.
it's another good
So
time to
he's
check in with Dan for the
really
rest of,
concentrating
terminal
on
count.
getting
How we looking,
latency
Dan?
down. So,
Big Shiva, we're looking
let's
good.
hope
5
that
minutes,
continues
35
to be the
seconds,
case.
And we're counting down.
We will see.
We're just about
What do we got?
at,
5
closing
minutes,
the
30
prop
seconds,
load
guys.
sequences on
5
booster
minutes,
and
30
ship.
seconds.
Just a reminder, ship, we're going to close out at around 3 minutes.
Not
and 30
bad.
seconds.
We're
Booster
getting there.
about 2 minutes
No
and 50
delays as
seconds.
of yet. No
Once
delay.
all of that prop is loaded on
So
board,
there's
we'll have about
2.2
10
million
billion
people
pounds of
watching on
propellant
X
both
right this
stages,
minute.
of
1.2
Now,
million
happens,
people
we'll go through
watching
a couple
on
of different
X.
procedures with the ground. We'll do what's
Unbelievable.
called pushbacks, clearing out the lines between our prop farm and the vehicles themselves before we get to launch. And then in the next few minutes,
let's
we'll
see
get the
here.
final guidance system alignments, some final thrust vector control on the booster checks, and all that will be performed. And again, if we
Puck
need
Elf
to
says
hold, we
China
have a
gets
holding
better
gate built in
bandwidth
at
with
T-minus 40
with
seconds
floating
where we can
balloons.
hang out. It sounds like today we'll have about
Yeah,
15
I know.
minutes to hold at T-minus 40. if we
Floating
need to.
Chinese
If we
balloons,
hit that
weather
right now,
balloons,
it looks
or
like the most likely
observation
reason would be
balloons. I love
winds.
that.
We're
That
not
was good
tracking
shit. I
any
don't even
technical
know.
issues to our
Sounds good
T0
now.
and
Thank you so much,
A25,
Atomic Nukes.
just about
Appreciate
4.5
that.
minutes from
Appreciate
now.
that.
So,
T-minus 4
really
minutes.
looking good.
Man, if this actually goes off, guys, I'm gonna. This is going. This is amazing. Okay, this is going to be really, really big. This is going to be big. Like, so if you're a Starlink guy, all right, your speeds are going to get faster. All right, once they are able to get the larger. If you didn't know it, think about this. The version 2 minis have a wingspan of about 20 meters. 20.
And this is a
The
really cool thing
wingspan
about
of
Starship,
the
and we don't
larger
have this
version, the
opportunity
3.0s,
with
let's call them, or
Falcon
the
Heavy.
2.0 maxis, as I call them,
Until the
have a
T-minus
wingspan instead of
40-second
20
point,
meters, meters, 60 meters. And instead of weighing like 2 tons, they weigh like, I don't know, 4 tons. It's literally twice the size. size and 3 times the length. It's just massive. These things are massive. So it's like the difference between having a refrigerator in orbit and like a small school bus. I mean, it's really, really big. So yeah, it's going to be amazing. Absolutely amazing.
We don't have the
Peter
same
says old school game, Unreal
system
Tournament or
Starship,
Quake.
which gives us more availability
absolutely.
in the window, and sometimes that's all
Loving
you need.
the gaming.
The winds
I do. I'm a
just
gamer
enough
by heart. I mean, I used to sell video games. I had a software company for 13 years, excuse me, before I sold it. So yeah, I've been in the computer science field for a long time. Just having the computer software business alone, I used to sell software from government to schools to individuals. Like I said, for over a decade.
Super exciting.
I love games. I've always been a gamer.
There's nothing more exciting than watching
and seeing 20 milliseconds is unbelievable. I haven't got that yet. Every once in a while we'll get like 28 milliseconds, you know, 26 here and there, but never 20 or sub 20, and that's what Elon's goal is.
So we can inform the next iteration.
Yeah, so Devon Brooks says, is the launch considered to be a critical milestone? And the answer to that is 100% yes. Because instead of just launching and trying not to blow it up, they're going to be doing a lot of other things. They are going to, number one, they're going to do an additional burn while in orbit, meaning they're going to reignite the engine. So that's going to be a big thing. They've never done that before. Ignited a Raptor engine in space. 0 oxygen, 0 everything, right? Because you are in space. They're also going to try opening up that Pez dispenser. As always, you know, as always refer to it. And they're also going to try transferring fuel. So here we go. T-minus 1 minute, 40 seconds. Look at everyone's in there. Oh, yes. Holy hell. Let's not blow up, guys. Fingers crossed. Let's not blow up. Let's get there. Let's get it there this time. Let's do it.
There's a good chance we blow right
Holy crap. 1.3 million people on X. Like I said, if this was broadcast on YouTube instead of on X, that would be 2+ million people.
About 4 seconds.
Absolutely, for sure.
Before we hit our T0. They're going to ignite in 3 different banks. You'll get 13 of the inners.
I'm going to shut up for a minute and let's listen to them. We are at T-minus 1 minute and 5 seconds.
And then after that, the quick disconnect will retract. The engines will start to throttle up, and then we'll see liftoff about 1.5 seconds after T0. So we're under a minute away. Don't be shocked if we hold at 40 seconds before, but it sounds like the winds are cooperating today. We'd be able to move right past that, not tracking any other technical issues that could hold us.
Past our QD vent gate.
Winds are cooperating. We like to see it.
Through the QD vent gate past the 40-second hold.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Flight Director Ty Huntington telling the team we are go for launch. So 20 seconds to go.
Wow, go for launch.
Let's listen in.
T-minus 14, 13.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Damn, look at that. 5 seconds into launch. Let's look at that burn. Let's look at the burn. That's looking clean. That is looking clean so far. I want to see the under. I want to see those engines. I don't see any spots. Doesn't look like any of those Raptors are off. Damn. Can you just imagine the thrust on this thing?
We are feeling the rumble. We are seeing 33 out of 33 Raptor engines ignited on the Super Heavy booster.
33 out of 33 Raptor engines. Excellent.
Continuing to get good call-outs. Our trajectory looking nominal. Systems looking nominal. Just amazing to see all 33 lit up once again.
Look at that. Perfect burn. Perfect burn. All engines.
At this point, we've already passed through max Q, that maximum dynamic pressure. and passing supersonic, so we're now moving faster.
Yeah, max Q is at 52 seconds, so
getting those onboard views from the ship
we're good.
cameras.
Oh my God, look at that.
Now the next major milestone is going to be
that's the perfect view
maneuver.
Right there.
Again, we're going to be doing that in just about 90
no
seconds.
Raptor
to
engines
do that,
are out.
We're going to shut down all but the 3 center Raptor engines on Super Heavy. That'll be our MECO, our most engines cut off. And then the clamps holding the 2 stages together are going to release. Starship second stage will ignite its engines, the RVAX first.
Now remember, this is going to be a hot release, so they actually burn those 3 engines to separate.
Kind of pointed out at
not like before.
15-degree angle. So if you look close and we get good tracking, you might be able to see those center right after. And so those 6 engines will push Starship off of the booster.
Yeah, let's hope this separates.
All right, counting down now.
This is that hot separation. This will be the second time that it's been tried. It worked the first time, but kind of blew up.
See the booster engines start to shut down. You'll see all but 3 lights go out in the middle, and then we'll see the engines ignite on ship.
Man, this is really going well.
And that will start carrying the ship into space.
Here it goes.
The booster will start to do its flip and then move into the boost back burn, setting it up for eventual splashdown in the Gulf
there it
of
is.
Mexico.
Come on, come on, come on, come on. There's the ignition. Holy hell. That was perfect. Holy shit, guys. That was absolutely perfect.
Confirmed. Boosters now making its way back.
Now it's going to rotate.
6 engines ignited.
This should start flipping.
Ship. Kate, we got a Starship on its way to space and a booster on the way back to the Gulf.
Oh man, I need a moment to pick my jaw up from the floor because
look at that
these
flip.
Views are just stunning.
Oh my
these
God.
are live views from Starship. First stage is currently performing the
ship avionics, power and telemetry nominal.
Good there, news informing us that the second stage or the ship, everything looking good, nominal.
Everything
there.
is nominal.
First stage is currently performing the boost back burn, expecting that to last about 1 minute. That boost back burn. That boost back burn propels the booster back towards the coast, taking it to a landing in the waters of the Gulf of Mexico. We're only using the super heavy boosters 13.
So it's going to burn for another minute to be able to get it back into the Gulf of Mexico. That's a long burn, actually.
Corner. Those are the ones that can gimbal. In other words, they move and change direction in order to change the thrust to steer the first stage back to Earth.
There was
Wow,
what was amazing too is there was nothing. There was like no little pieces, no little parts, nothing falling off. Also, we didn't see any of the shielding fall off. That was one of the biggest things that were happening with the space shuttle way back in the day. Is those heat tiles would start popping off, and then later on, when it would re-enter, it would blow up. Right? That happened with the space shuttle. We didn't see. I mean, I did not see any tiles popping off. We don't see any. I mean, everything is nominal. Absolutely amazing.
Ignite and then transition into a
it's picking up speed now. We're at 1,200 kilometers per hour.
Just as a reminder,
altitude is like, let's say, 99, 98 kilometers.
We're looking for controlled ascent.
I love how they show 2 views here. So one of the Starship and then one of the lower half, the Super Heavy, coming back down to Earth.
Good news there telling us that the path that Starship is on is good. Now, Starship's second stage is still firing its engines, and as you heard, following planned flight path, the ship objectives, we're looking for hot staging, again, cruised right through that. We're looking to demonstrate controlled ascent as well as orbital insertion. Now,
this is literally perfect.
Right-hand corner of the screen shows the ship engine graphics, so be sure to keep an eye on those.
Yep, Kate, like this is just a phenomenal test so far. Super Heavy is performing beautifully today. It's on its return leg of the journey. Ship continuing to burn its 6 engines, those larger circles, the Raptor vacuum engines, the inner circles.
So we can see, like, look at the difference in speed. You got 3,000 kilometers per hour on the Super Heavy coming back, and then we see the Starship going at 13,000 kilometers per hour.
excuse me, the landing burn on the
There we go. You see the flaps. They're starting to move now to guide it, to start flipping it, to rotate it.
Guiding us through the atmosphere back towards our splashdown site. Again, we're going for a splashdown, a soft splashdown. So for landing burn, we're going to expect to see the 13 center engines light, rapidly bring down the booster's velocity. And
absolutely unbelievable.
In the center.
Here it comes. Here it comes.
Let's see if that'll work.
There we go. Look at that thing.
We're getting a few.
Unbelievable how it can direct itself like that, right? This is the perfect shot where you can actually see those. There it is. So it lit. Oh, come on, go out. I thought we were going to lose signal. We weren't going to get it at all. All right, we're back. We're good.
Still something that we're attempting to learn. And to make it that far.
So that means that was a splashdown. They didn't show the actual splashdown. So I did find it interesting, though, is they basically just dumped it in the drink instead of trying to land it, which I guess is okay. But remember, the size of this thing makes sense because it's not like a Falcon 9 that could launch, that could land on the back of one of these drone ships, right? The drone ships have to be a lot bigger. So most likely they probably won't land in the ocean. They'll probably land back in Texas. But here we go. We're sitting in, we're going at 22,000 kilometers per hour, and we're at 140 kilometers, 145 kilometers now in space.
Right now, we demonstrated the hot staging. Kate, as you said, cruised through that. We demonstrated controlled.
They're at 1.9. We're getting close to 2 million viewers on X right now, and this feed is still going. It is not dumping. This is really a testament to how the new Twitter is, how they're able to pump out almost 2 million feeds simultaneously worldwide, showing this coverage without dumping itself. I mean, that is a lot. I mean, that is a lot.
Engine cut off.
There we go.
Engine cutoff.
As you heard there.
So now it'll start slowing down. It won't accelerate anymore. We're at 26,480 kilometers per hour, and now you should start seeing a decline in speed.
Starship's 6 Raptor engines have successfully shut down. We heard a call out for nominal orbital insertion.
This is awesome.
Which is incredible. Look at these views, Dan.
There you go. 9 minutes, 10 seconds into it, 155 kilometers in space.
Congratulations to the entire SpaceX team. I mean, this flight.
They just hit 2 million viewers now. Just this moment, 2 million viewers. Unbelievable.
We've got a Starship not just in space, but on its coast phase into space. Just to recap where we've come, and it's only been 9.5 minutes. How has it only been 9.5 minutes? We lifted off right on time at 8:25 a.m. We didn't have to hold at our gate at all. We had 33 out of 33 Raptor engines open up and light and get us through a nominal ascent.
So if you think about it, guys, all 33 Raptor engines not only worked nominally, none of them went out. So all 33 were successful all the way through the entire flight. That was amazing to begin with, right? It didn't look like there was chunks all over, blown out all over anywhere, right? So that whole bottom area is probably going to show almost no, let's say no damage or minimal damage, which is perfect, right? So that is also a positive. And now we see that it is now detached. The Super Heavy is already dumped back into the ocean in the Gulf of Mexico, and we see that 10 minutes into it, everything is still nominal on the Starship. I mean, this is absolutely so far a perfect flight. Perfect. I predicted that this would end up happening, and I'm so glad that it is. This is going to be so good for going forward, because the next one will most likely be able to either land instead of end up doing a hard landing in the ocean. They'll probably test, like I said before, the actual landing and land upright into the ocean slowly to make sure that that is working. That will probably be on the next flight. But this is good. The reason this is also good is because the FAA and all the rest of them are not going to be able to say that much crap, because that's what ends up happening, because we get of course the wildlife, right, fish and wildlife people complaining and all the rest of them. So they're not going to have much to complain about this time.
No communications blackout period.
So we're at 1.1 million people now watching on X, altitude at 176 kilometers, and a speed of 26,374 kilometers per hour, which will slowly come down from that. The speeds will start slowing down.
We'll see you back here at T plus 40 minutes.
Pez door is opening.
And there we just heard call it that Pez door is opening, so that's great.
First test.
One of our test objectives today is to open
there it is.
Pez door. That's where we will deploy Starlink.
The Pez door opened, guys. So the Pez dispenser is functional.
That test objective is already underway. So come back here, stick around till T plus 40 minutes for coverage of Starship's deorbit burn demonstration, followed by its reentry and what is sure to be an exciting splashdown.
So about 40 minutes, they're going to end up coming back for splashdown. But one of the major objectives that happened was that Pez dispenser opening, because that means that we are able to insert SpaceX Starlink full-size versions into space. So if they had 200, because I think that's what the load capacity is, if they had 200 of those Starlinks on board today, they would have been able to put 200 SpaceX Starlink version 3s or version 2 Maxis, whatever you want to call them, into space today, because it opened up, the Pez dispenser opened up. That's all they had to do is kind of shoot them out like little Pez candies. So that is fantastic. Like I said, it won't take too many of these tests before we see the new Starlink satellites in orbit. I predicted third, fourth quarter, probably fourth quarter. It might end up being sooner because this test was so good. Once again, the other test that they're going to do, which they're not going to talk about, probably they're going to this picture until splashdown. They're going to try transferring fuel between tanks. That's very, very critical, mission critical for eventually, like I said before, having one of these craft as a mobile, let's say, gas station in orbit. Being able to transfer fuel in zero gravity is a big thing. They're going to try that. They're also going to try a startup, a burn on one of the engines. So when we see speeds right now of 26,291 and speeds are going slower, most likely, if you keep watching this in the next 40 minutes, we're going to see the speeds increase a lot as they do a burn, right? They're going to burn for a certain amount of time, and then they're going to cut out. That's basically to know or to test a reignition, to reignite a Raptor engine in space. Once again, with no oxygen, no nothing, right? So that is a big thing. That's going to be another big test, another milestone. If they can do it. So we'll see. We will see. I'm going to stay live with them, hang out with you guys. If you have any questions, I'm not going anywhere. This is a big deal. This is amazing. We'll let that keep on going in the background there, and we'll talk. So any kind of questions that you have, let me know. I'm going to kind of scroll up here to see if I missed any. Put a Q before your question, or JCristina, at JCristina before your question, and I will answer those questions for you. But this is a good day. This is a good day. Tim says, son of a nutcracker. Go, baby, go. I love it. Yeah. It's absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, I'll give you another tidbit. I know some people don't even know this stuff. Check this out. Elon Musk dropped out of Stanford University's PhD program, right? He was going to be a doctor, right? 2 days after being in the program, literally to pursue his ventures with PayPal later. Remember, X.com used to be a service that provided transaction of funds, but wirelessly, right? Through the web. Well, it ended up being sold, and X.com turned into PayPal.com. And then finally, about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, Elon Musk bought X.com from the owners of PayPal, obviously. Google, whoever else, I don't know who all the owners are now over there, but anyways, Elon Musk is the one that actually created PayPal.com, which is a fun fact. Also, SpaceX was the very first company, the first privately held company to launch a rocket. And it was a Falcon 1 in 2008, which was a liquid-fueled rocket. So that was a big deal for them. That's how it kind of all started, and that's in 2008. So you're looking now well down the road, right? And we're seeing them putting the largest rocket into orbit with no issues. 3 tries, and there you go. So these 3 attempts took, what, about 1 year, I guess, in totality or so? I mean, from the attempt number 2 to now attempt 3 took 3 months. Whereas if this was NASA, these attempts would happen like every 5 to 10 years, right? It would take forever. And that's what's really great about SpaceX. That's one of the things that is really, really something to be awed by, is the quickness that they have when it comes to turning things around. Now, a lot of you guys are SpaceX Starlink users out there, and you've been asking me a lot, why in the hell does this thing update all the damn time? Guys, they are at a breakneck speed trying to get SpaceX Starlink to be the best that it can be, in comparison to all other ISPs that sit on their laurels and do jack shit. Okay, that's the God honest truth. So you're going to see tons. I think I got like 12 or 15 updates, firmware updates in the last couple of weeks. So you're going to see your router reboot a lot. And it kind of sucks, but that's just the way it is. And that's because they're constantly pumping out new updates, new firmware updates to the dish, new firmware updates to the router, and new firmware updates to the satellites themselves. Hundreds of updates. But the majority of us are going faster, lower latency, happier, right? So this is something that we're going to have to deal with. Now, if you don't know it, I've been getting a lot of people saying that their Starlink router has been bricked by some of these updates. And you're right. I've talked to a lot of people, a lot meaning like maybe 2 handfuls, and they said that their Starlink router is dead. And the reason being is because of an update kind of failed. Excuse me. And this is what happens sometimes. When you're doing these hot updates continuously, you're going to get one that doesn't work out well. Or sometimes what will happen is if you have a power outage, okay, during an update, you can brick your router. So my suggestion to you guys are, get a really decent, all right, battery backup, and have your dish, your router, run on that battery backup, plugged into the wall. So if you get a blackout, you get a brownout, you get a spike or something during a firmware update, you're not going to have to worry about bricking your system. Now, that being said, every one of the people that I spoke to have said that they have contacted SpaceX and said, listen, my router is dead. It just went dead during an update. They don't even think about it. They immediately send out a new unit. They don't ask questions. So if you're having a problem with your router, put in a ticket, a trouble ticket, and tell them what I just told you. All right, the thing just died. It was like updating or something, and now it doesn't come on anymore. They won't even question it. They will send you a new one, period. End of story. So, round robining, coming back to the beginning, if your Starlink router is not on a battery backup, it should be, right? Do yourself a service, put it on that so that you don't end up having to deal with it in the future, right? Very, very, very important. So what are we looking at? Let's look at this rocket. We're sitting at 229 kilometers in space, and we're traveling at 26,136 kilometers per hour. Speed is fluctuating a little bit, but we can see it's spinning. 21 minutes into the launch. Now let me go and take a look at something really quick here. 21 minutes into launch. Yeah, they didn't end up putting a time frame for the different they stopped listing what is going on after engine cutoff at 8 minutes and 35 seconds. That's all right. If you guys didn't know it, in 2018, Elon Musk launched a Tesla Roadster into orbit as a test to put a satellite into orbit. He just launched one of his cars, his Tesla Roadster, on the back of a Falcon Heavy as a demonstration that he was able to put a Tesla car into orbit, and he did. Kind of crazy, right? Guys, any kind of questions that you have, once again, put a Q before the question or put at JCristina in the chat, and I'm going to go and look through some of them right now. I want to thank everyone for being here. There's still like almost 200 of you still hanging out with me. I really appreciate that. At one point, we had like 230, 250 people here. That's awesome. Radioactive Texan says, does Starship have backup parachutes in case engine failure during the return to land? That's a really good question. I don't believe so. I do not believe so. It's such a big, item that's in space. I don't know. We'll see. All right. I know on that one as much as you do. Now, of course, we just saw yesterday, I think it was, or the day before, Dragon come back. And there was 3 chutes that actually opened to bring those folks back home and land in the ocean. So we'll see. I'm not really sure. There's currently 2.7 million people watching on X right now with no problem. 2.7 million people. I think that's the peak. Amazing. Question here coming from Explorer 867. How much sky do you need to acquire connectivity for Starlink and the lit? Okay, so if you're in there's a lot of trees, remember your dish. Okay, your Starlink dish has a view or a viewing angle of 110 degrees, but it's not a conal viewing angle. So that 110 degrees is laterally or horizontally. People don't get this, right? So it's 110 degrees this way, but it's only about 30 degrees this way. So it's more important to actually point it, all right? Now this is if you do not have a fully articulating version. If you have a version 2, it'll point itself. There's not too much that you can do about it, right? But if you have one of the kickstand versions, you really want to point it to where there's no trees, okay? But also, bear in mind, as we go further and further into this, and there's more and more satellites in space, right now we're seeing about 10 to 15 satellites per node, per region, or per area, right? So overhead at any given time, let's say at your home, your dish, if you had perfectly clear skies, could probably see about 15 satellites or so. And they're traveling at 17,000 miles per hour. So they're constantly handshaking from one satellite to the next satellite to the next satellite as they're coming overhead. So to answer your question, how much space do you need? It really depends where your trees are located. If you're in the northern hemisphere where you live, right, you want to be able to get more of the northerly, right, area. Southerly doesn't matter. Remember, you have that cone of about 30 degrees. So people think that when your dish is like this, pointing, that it's actually hitting 110 all the way around, and it's not. It's hitting 110, right, horizontal or laterally, right, horizontally. But vertically, it's only seeing a small amount, which is 30 degrees, 40 max. Keep that in mind. So you want to point it where there's no trees. If not, you're going to end up with issues. Also, if you point it where there's trees and the trees are doing this in the wind, this happens all the time. People are like, I don't know. I keep getting like signal loss, signal's fine, signal loss. I say, go outside and go look what you have out there. Do you have a tree? And now all of a sudden it's windy and it's doing this? Well, that's why your signal is coming in and out. All right. So keep that in mind. Let's see, what else do we have here? Atomic Nuke says IF-4 should have satellites on board. That would be good, but I don't think so. They're gonna the next thing that they're gonna do with IFT-4 will be land it. All right. Well, once again, they're gonna splash down in Madagascar and the Indian Ocean this time, but so super heavy splash down in the Gulf Coast, right, in the Gulf of Mexico. That's where it splashed down. Now, Starship is going to splash down in the Indian Ocean and be recovered over there. Next time, they're probably, like I said, going to try to upright the ship, right? Upright Starship and land it in the ocean like this. If that does go well, they'll most likely try to do the landing on either the back of a drone ship or on land, let's say in Texas. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. You know, you don't want there to be a problem with the landing and having something that big land where it doesn't supposed to land. You want to talk about some FAA, FCC, every government agency, the DOD, Department of Defense, everybody will lose their crap. So we can't have that, right? So we need to make sure that we'll be able to land it. So most likely the next one will be on landing and trying to get that landing stuck, but stuck in the ocean. That's my personal opinion. I could be wrong. Eric says, I love the elevator music. Yeah, they got that elevator music playing. That's what they're doing. Matter of fact, you know what? I'm going to turn the elevator, what are we at? I'm going to turn the elevator music down just slightly. Ever so slightly. There you go. Let's see what else we have here. What other kind of questions we have? Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Shannon just gifted 5 people free memberships. So if you're hanging out with me, you might be one of the lucky people that just got 5 memberships, right? Golden Retriever got a membership for free. John Ross got one. Johan, thank you for being here. You got a membership free, as well as Travis and Chris. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Shannon, hey, listen, anyone that got that free membership, and if you didn't, thank them. Thank them for that free membership. That is an awesome gift. Thank you so much. Really do appreciate that. Let's see. Yep. They did flip. Yes, they did the deorbit burn. Yes, they did. Kevin says, engineers constantly upgrading. I've noticed at 3 a.m. lots of reboots and outages for 10 minutes in the past weeks. I sent a support message asking, not complaining, if this was going to be ongoing. They gave me a $60 credit. So there you go, guys. Kevin basically said with a wink, if you're getting these outages late at night, write to SpaceX, put in a trouble ticket, and say, hey, you know, my service keeps going down for like 10 minutes at a time, you know? I'm not complaining. Even tell them that, just like Kevin did. And maybe they will, too, give you a $60 credit just for the hassle, you know? So that's really cool. That is nice. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. Elon Musk was the first company. Yes, Zip2. Yes, GA Flips. Zip2 was the first company. It was absolutely. And if you guys didn't know it, Zip2 was I don't know, like a white pages or yellow pages or like a phone book, like a virtual phone book. So it's kind of cool. And yeah, Elon made that. It's kind of crazy. From phone books to going into outer space with the largest rocket on the planet to one day going to the moon and hopefully in my lifetime landing someone on Mars. Elon Musk did also say that he wants to die on Mars, guys. He wants to die on Mars. but he also put a caveat in there. He said he didn't want to die on impact. So he actually wants to die on Mars, but he wants to land there. He doesn't want to just impact into it. Good stuff. Good stuff. Let's see, who else do we have here? A question from Peter, excuse me. It says, do you know what the total height of the rocket is in meters? I do not. You could look that up. Let me, matter of fact, let me get the, I'll look that up for you. What is the Starship? Because it is larger. And it is definitely bigger than the old one by, I think, a meter or two. What is the height? Let me see what that is. So, according to what I see, it is 122 meters. 122 meters, which is like 400 feet, just to give you an idea. 400 feet. So it is a little bit taller. Maybe, I think, by about 30 feet or so. I don't know. Maybe what is it, about 10 meters or 11? I don't know. I think it is a little bit taller. So that's very interesting to know. Let's see what other questions we got here. Phil Scamping says that I run mine on a battery backup. Yes, make sure you have a battery backup. Jonathan says he has a UPS sine wave UPS backup. You're not going to beat that. If you can afford a sine wave backup, a pure sine, do it. Clean energy, clean electricity is good for electronics. Dirty electricity is not good for electronics, no matter how you look at it. Not good. Let's see here. What are we at? Let me take a look here. We're at 32 minutes, 30 seconds. There is 3.1 million people watching on X, and the feed is still going. 3.1 million simultaneous feeds going. 32 minutes into the launch, 26,203 kilometers per hour with an altitude of 213 kilometers in space. 213 kilometers. We can see it's doing a roll right now. Now, they don't say what they're doing. Chances are this roll is probably going to be having something to do with the transfer of fuel. But we will see. See if they actually say it. Let's see, getting back into some questions. Wally says, I want to purchase a Generation 1 power brick, and Starlink sent me a Generation 2 kit free of charge. Holy crap. See, there you go. That's one thing. The customer service absolutely sucks at SpaceX Starlink. It sucks. There's no phone support. There's no email. There's no 24-hour support of any kind online through a chat or something. But when you do put a trouble ticket in, for the most part, every once in a while you'll get a canned response, which I really hate, the boilerplate cut and paste. But when they do respond to you, if you do have a problem, they are on it immediately. They will give you a new unit, a refurbished unit, whatever you need. You need cable, you need a router. Sometimes they'll give you a router as well as the dish. They'll give you a complete kit. They're really on top of that, and that is really good. That's good to see. A lot of companies, like AT&T, you have a problem with your modem, they're like, well, it's kind of out of warranty. We can give you a 12-month warranty, so you're going to have to pay for that. It's like, no, if I'm getting your service, the only way for me to get the service is to have your router. If your router's not working, I'm going to have to cancel your service. So anyways, so it's good to see. They're really good about it. Let's see, Jimbo says, let's see, Starlink replaced the whole system after software, UD, download, no issue. There you go. Perfect. That's Jimbo. The Traveler also said they replaced the system for him. No problem. Let's see here. Tennessee Wireless said his Tesla Roadster had disc inside. Yeah, I love it. Car of the future. It's just it's so cool. He also, what I thought was really interesting too is he's like really into the whole Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and that's why, if you don't know it, the drone ships are named what they're named. Like one of the drone ships is named, Of Course I Still Love You. And another drone ship is named Just Read the Instructions, which is odd for drone ships to be named. But once again, it's because of his love. He is a fan of the sci-fi fiction series, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and of course the book. So it's awesome, absolutely awesome. So we get back into some of these. Do you know what the total height is? I said that one already for Peter. Question, can you define what a really good battery backup is? So a really good battery backup would be one that would be able to sustain, I would say a 700 VA plus would be fine for a Starlink router with no problem. I have a switch and a router on mine right now with no issue at all. I usually use UPC. I use APC because they have a pretty good, let's say, longevity to them. Some of the UPS that I found, they go bad. Like the components, the head unit, right, go bad. Well, the batteries are going to go bad after time. I don't care about that. But the actual componentry goes bad. So I like using APC. So that's my personal preference. But there's some others that I've recommended that are decent. Matter of fact, if I can find a list, I'll send over. I'll put into the chat a list. Let me get into a few more questions first. Let's see here. Here we go. Question for anyone. With doing a deorbit burn and slowing down, why can't Starship slow down burn with flaps and the heat tiles the same stage 1 Falcon does? I think it has to do with the size and speed of what they're going. So they like flip. They do a burn and basically slowing them down. So right now they're traveling at 26,300 kilometers per hour. And the altitude is 181 kilometers. So they went from that 200 plus kilometers down to 81. So they are now coming back down. They're at 180 kilometers now. So I'm thinking it'll probably be like another 30 minutes, 20 minutes, and they're going to be going back into that burn and splashdown. So we'll keep watching for right now. Oh, look at that. They are back.
Central Time.
Let's listen to what they have to say for a second.
Was to get through all of our ascent burns and collect as much data as possible, including a potential Starship entry. And we just came out of a coast phase and we're treated to a number of HD views thanks to Starlink, including the PEZ door open-close test. So that was one of our test objectives today that we met. So that's
3.3 now million viewers.
It has been a phenomenal test day. Just to see Booster lifting Starship to ascent, ship completing its ascent, just a wonderful day. Kind of to recap the objectives a little bit. Booster completed its ascent, ignited its 33 Raptor engines. We demonstrated a successful hot staging for the second time. Booster completed the boost back burn, didn't quite accomplish the landing burn, and then had a hard splashdown in the Gulf. Meanwhile, ship completely successful after the hot staging. We had a good 6-engine burn of the Raptor vacuum engines and sea level engines. And then we've commanded a number of demonstrations, including the Starlink satellite deploy demo, so the payload door, as well as a prop transfer demonstration. We do still need to do some data review on those, so as we get that data back, we'll be sure to update you on social for how those tests went. We are coming up on our next major milestones, which is an in-space relight of our Raptor engine for the first time, followed by re-entry and then landing in the Indian Ocean.
Incredible.
Yeah, that's right, guys.
So that's really good. So that means that everything is working properly. The only thing that failed so far is they, instead of doing a hard splashdown in the ocean for the Super Heavy, it was not able to upright itself. I didn't know that they were even going to test uprighting itself. But there you go. That's why we saw it coming in hot. And then camera went off, and that was it, because it didn't upright and land in the ocean slowly. Once again, I didn't know that they were going to try doing that. I thought they were going to do it on the next one. So I guess they probably said, listen, everything is working really, really well. Let's go ahead and try to upright the Super Heavy and land in the ocean softly, but it didn't work. So that's good to know, because if you think about it, if Super Heavy now came into, let's say, land at the tongs, the salad tongs over there in Texas onto that pad, it would have slammed and drilled into the pad a massive hole because it wasn't able to upright itself, right? So this is why I really do believe that they're going to have to do at least 1 or 2 tests of upright landings, soft landings in the ocean before they actually try to attempt to land on land. Or even land on a drone ship, because you don't want to drill it, definitely, into the ground. That's going to put you back many months as all of these agencies, 3-letter agencies, go to town, right? We don't want that to happen.
It does sound like we are skipping past the on-orbit relight demo this time. Again, we'll confirm all of this through our post-flight data review, but it did sound like we did pass through that burn. So now that's going to start setting us up for re-entry.
So there you go.
That's exactly right.
So instead of doing the flip, the relight of the engine, that failed. So they weren't. So what that means to me, they didn't say it, but what that means to me is whatever the technology that they had to relight the Raptor engine in space, 0 gravity, 0 air, 0 oxygen, it failed. All right? They didn't say that, but that's basically what it means. It passed that window when they were going to relight. In other words, they probably tested relighted before even saying anything, and it did not relight. So we have so far 2 fails. We have a fail of the test of the uplight of the Super Heavy, and we have a fail of the relight of the Falcon 9 in space. The Falcon 9, or the Raptor engine in space, or one of the Falcon 9 that they use, right? Raptor engine in space. So it's 2 failures, but everything else is going so far so good.
That's why Starship and Starlink are a great partnership. Starship is so big that it will leave a wake or a hole in the plasma field as it flies through an atmosphere. You can think of a wake kind of like when you see a boat going through the ocean. It sort of leaves a trail behind it.
Here it is, guys.
Views from Starlink, giving us views of Starship's onboard videos.
Did you see what did you hear what he said? It blows like a hole in the atmosphere, like a wake, like a plasma, because the size and the speed.
With the satellites on orbit through the wake that Starship leaves behind. Now, this is only the 2nd time that we're testing Starlink during re-entry. So even though we do have these great visuals now, don't be surprised if we manage to get some signal hiccups through. We're still learning about what that wake will actually look like in practice and whether we're able to get that live continuous high-speed data during re-entry.
Yeah, that's right. And one of the really primary reasons we want to use Starlink
Here it
is to just gather as much
126 kilometers. And dropping, 125 and dropping. There's 3.4 million people watching now on X. 3.4 million people watching. Amazing. Look at that speed, 26,617 kilometers per hour.
We really want to know how the ship's going to perform, especially that heat shield as we're going through the hypersonic reentry. So if something were to go wrong during this reentry, we want as many paths as possible to collect that information, that data, just to, again, just continually feed back into the Starship program to make each flight more reliable, more successful.
So when we see the side, you can see the belly. Do you see all of those tiles? See all the heat tiles? Those heat tiles are going to take the brunt of this re-entry. Those heat tiles will glow red, fiery white hot on re-entry. But see how it's flipping? That's the only way that this can happen, because you don't have those tiles throughout the entire unit. If it was not to flip and those heat tiles were on the opposite side, it would just blow up on re-entry.
Now
it is flipping.
Views, HD views by the looks of it, thanks to Starlink.
There it is.
You can see
Perfect.
that the flaps there
and
on the ship
this
might
view,
be actuating.
This view, now that is most likely ice.
Certainly some incredible visions of planet Earth behind Starship. Now, we've already validated Starship's ability to fly and land at subsonic speeds.
Look at that flip.
All those suborbital flights.
Here we are. We're at 109 kilometers. Look at that. It's literally like an airplane coming in.
things like heating and control while traveling way faster than we did before is going to be critical.
The main
to
thing
eventually bringing
is we need
Starship
to make
back from
sure
space
that those
for
heat
rapid
tiles.
reuse. So I mentioned
Okay,
those
now,
flaps. That's one of
do
the
you see
things,
2 holes?
Is
that
enable
me?
Starship to help control itself
Are you
and-
seeing
and-
two
and
heat
survive
tiles
the
missing
heat of
there,
re-entry,
guys?
which, like
Are you
we said
seeing
before,
2
we're
heat
expecting
tiles?
that re-entry to occur
Missing
around
2
T plus
holes, 2
49
gaps?
minutes. So we're getting pretty close here.
And what you're seeing here, it looks like the vehicle is sort of moving back and forth. Part of what you're also seeing is one of the cameras, this onboard view that we have.
No, that's the
is on
camera.
the
That's
end
not
of
the
a
vehicle
flap.
moving.
Starship has front flaps and rear flaps in the vehicle. So we've got 4 of those. And oh man, we can see the heating
So we
on
were-
those flaps
now,
as we're starting to
I'm
re-enter the Earth's
thinking
atmosphere.
that
This
those
is where
are.
the Earth's atmosphere
Look
is
at the heat. Look at the heat build up. Look at that.
down.
Turning red. Turning red. So it is in the right position. There you go. Perfect. Perfect, guys. Perfect. You see that? The heat shield, the heat tiles are taking the brunt of this. What an amazing shot. No one has seen this before. This is like the first.
Views brought to you by Starlink.
Even with the space shuttle, you never saw
And
this.
still capturing the data and the video that we see here.
Damn.
I mean,
So
Shiva,
Starlink
this
is
just
still
absolutely
working on
incredible
board
views. We've never seen
during
anything
re-entry.
like this before. This is the biggest flying
It's still
object
traveling
ever in space.
26,700 kilometers per hour. It's at 93 kilometers.
Burn that we did was to get us to orbital velocities, even though we were on a nearly orbital trajectory. So the heating and the loads that
Oof!
Starship is
Look at
going
that!
to
Look at that burn!
are what it would
Oh
be
my God!
getting if it were recovering from an orbital mission, and just the fact that we have
It's actually doing it, guys.
is incredible.
Yeah.
It is.
Again, this
Look
is
at
the
that.
furthest and fastest that Starship has ever flown. And you
Wow.
can definitely tell by the crowd here. in
87 kilometers altitude, 26,000 kilometers per hour. Look at the flames.
That those heat shield tiles are dissipating.
2,600 degrees Fahrenheit. So, like I said, if this was not flipped, it would blow up immediately with this heat.
We're hoping to hit today. We have never, like I said before, this is the fastest and furthest that Starship has ever flown. So this is the first
I
time
cannot
that we're
believe
getting
this
to collect
feed
this re-entry
held in
data
there
and
during all of
understand
that.
how these 18,000 hexagonal heat shield tiles are working together to protect the belly of Starship
18,000
as it
heat
re-enters the
shield
Earth's atmosphere.
tiles.
Once again,
18,000.
The atmosphere is doing us a big favor here by
80 kilometers altitude.
the atmosphere is actually doing
Man,
us a huge favor
oh my
here
God,
by
it's
acting as
still
a
holding
braking
up.
system
I'm just
for
amazed not
Starship,
only by
as
the
it
ship
re-enters
coming in the way it is and the flames and everything, but I'm amazed that Starlink is able to keep this connection.
Starship and the drag from the atmosphere to slow us down from orbital speed.
Oh,
but you want the
come on.
vehicle to
Don't
remain
freeze.
stable. You want those
Hang
heat
in there,
shield
people.
tiles pointed
Ah,
down,
I think we
so
lost
they
it.
can absorb
I
the
think we
heat
lost it.
of the Earth's atmosphere.
Ah,
And
shit.
so that's the
Oh, no,
purpose
wait.
that they are
It was in and
serving
out.
during
75,
hypersonic
74
phase and
kilometers
again during the subsonic
off
phase.
Earth. Still 26,500 kilometers per hour. We're down 200 kilometers, so it's slowing down. It's trying to get a signal.
As that plasma builds, we're hoping that we can bring these views back to you. But
Come
you can
on,
see the
is it gonna come
telemetry
back?
there on the right-hand side of your screen. If you watch
It's
closely,
like a
you can see
marshmallow
the
just
speed
burnt.
decelerating against the
Exactly.
friction, of the
That's Mo
atmosphere,
World
resulting
says it's
in
like a
this plasma
marshmallow.
field, or excuse me, the blanket that is potentially blocking
A
the
plasma
Starlink
blanket,
terminals right
yeah,
now.
that's
So we'll bring those
basically what
views
it
back
is.
to
Can
you
you
if we get
imagine?
them.
Oh my
But
God.
right now, for those of you that have recently joined, Starship is currently re-entering the
Ah.
Earth's atmosphere. This is super exciting because it's the furthest
65
and
kilometers.
fastest that Starship has ever flown.
We're down to
It's just
25, so we're
absolutely
down
incredible. Major
in
test
a
milestones,
full
something we
1,000
wanted to
kilometers
accomplish
in
on Flight
speed.
2, getting to it today, so just awesome.
Now, we actually have some
Unbelievable.
heat shields here. So these are what's doing all the work on Starship right
So
now.
look at those heat tiles.
There
Look at
are
those heat shield
18,000
tiles.
hexagonal heat shields like these.
They're probably like fully
so
ceramic,
this one that
right?
I have is flat. Like this is what would be positioned on the flaps of Starship, whereas Shiva has something a little different.
Yeah, the one I have would be on the curved surfaces of Starship. I'll just put it in frame here. So we've got these.
So those are the tiles that you do not want to see pop off. If not, the ship, like I said, when it did its flip in re-entry, if it didn't flip because, let's say, a flap got stuck or something, it would have blew up immediately. What was it, 28,000 Fahrenheit or some crazy, I don't know, 2,800 Fahrenheit? Excuse me. It would have blew up immediately.
Are what's helping Starship survive through this period.
Inductive Soul says, not just rocket science, now it's plasma physics.
This is the furthest that we've gotten in our test flight, but the further we fly, the more data.
Like I said, even back in the day when I used to watch the Space Shuttle, Discovery, and all the rest of the space shuttles go up, they never were able to have shots like that. That is the first time I think that it was ever shown something like that, traveling at that speed, coming into orbit and actually burning through the atmosphere like that. That was just absolutely amazing. The fireball behind this thing. So right now it's at 65 kilometers, but what I don't like here is I don't see any more telemetry. Do you see the telemetry is locked? So there's two things that could happen here. Either Starship blew up, or telemetry died and there's no more communication, because they are not, because that's a live feed, they are not getting signal anymore from the ship. It stopped at 25,707 kilometers per hour with an altitude of 65 kilometers. I don't see any more movement. There's something wrong.
We're hoping that
something's wrong.
We can make it that far, but regardless, it is an exciting end to what has been an exciting day.
Absolutely, and I mean, we've had some tests in the past. We had several.
They might had to have
tested out the aerodynamic flaps.
Rutted this thing. They might have had to did their rapid unscheduled disassembly. This might have been rutted. I don't like to see that there's no speed and no altitude information coming across at all.
Going from faster than the speed of sound to below the speed of sound was one of the objectives.
We're going to keep listening, see what happens.
That's actually a great point, because we are expecting that entry subsonic period to occur around T+1 hour and 3.5 minutes. So we're
nuclear
not there
fission.
Yet. We're about 10 minutes away from that point. So again, that is when
after the first
Starship
trip to Mars, yeah.
Traveling slower than the
if you guys knew it or not, Tony Stark, the whole character of Tony Stark was developed from Elon Musk as a basis. And in I think it was
right now we're still
Iron Man 2, he actually made a cameo appearance talking to Tony at the party.
Of a blackout period right now. So still waiting to hear the status on it, but yeah, we got to the actual entry portion of today. We started into peak heating, which was just a really big milestone. Starship is pretty unique in the way that it re-enters, especially for something reusable. The closest parallel has been the space shuttle. When we're
trying to listen to see what he says, still no new telemetry.
We're talking about 20 times the energy given the velocity that we're moving at, and all of that energy just gets converted into heat, and then we need to use those tiles to just help dissipate that heat. They're not ablative like you would see on something like Dragon, which
3.7 million people watching on X now with no problem, no hiccup the entire time.
So any
unbelievable.
Data we're getting on the actual temperatures it was seeing during heating, all of that is just really hugely valuable. Where Starship is really unique is, and Kate and Shiva have talked about it a couple of times, is once we're through this kind of hypersonic section and we get down to the subsonic, and that's where we really learned a lot and proved that Starship's really just its basic shape could work, and we did that during the suborbital campaign. Again, if you compare it to the shuttle, which entered, it had the wings, it had a similar heat shield system, but it had wings, and then was almost flown like a glider once it re-entered and was down to those subsonic speeds. With Starship, we're not doing that. We're just coming straight down.
Plasma blackout prevents communication, you said? Yeah, okay.
200 miles an hour, and then we use.
But you would think that, so by now, it has already landed in the ocean, is what I'm going to guess.
On the ground. So you don't need a runway.
I'm surprised that they don't have overhead footage of that.
When we go to Mars, there's not going to be a runway there for us, and so that propulsive landing
Here we go. Yeah. Okay. So this is animation.
Pretty much what we were just watching on actual Starship video, which is pretty incredible. But
yeah, do you see how it's the belly is taking the brunt of it by coming in belly first, that the tiles only need to be on the belly of it where it's coming in?
Mission, when you compare it to our previous flights, which were headed out to Hawaii. So we go through peak heating and then we hit subsonic, and then Starship splashes down in the ocean. Again, we're not doing a landing burn on this flight. And we're not expecting Starship to survive the impact. We're not going to be recovering any of the hardware. For now, though, we are just still waiting to see if we're going to get some signal back. We're currently at a loss of signal with Starship.
So that's interesting. So
sure
since they're not doing a landing burn, and they're just going to just drill it into the Indian Ocean,
do
they send
the
submarine to recover parts and pieces, or do they leave it in like a watery grave in the ocean? That's a pretty decent question, I think, just because I think it has to do with the depth at which it lands. Because if it's at a depth of like 20,000 feet or 30,000 feet or whatever, well, at that point, no one's going to be able to retrieve it. But if it's at a lower, a more retrievable depth, it probably behooves them to actually retrieve parts and pieces so that the, let's say other, the Chinese, Russians, whoever doesn't go and pull it out and, reverse engineer stuff. We don't want that to happen either. But on a side to that, I think there's so many moles and there's so many inner people that are, let's say, playing for the other team anyways, that I think that a lot of the technology gets out anyways. It doesn't matter, because when we look at StarNet and we look at some other of the Chinese rockets, they not only look like like the Falcon 9, for example, or like the Starship, they act like it. The way they work, the whole gimbal system, on the engines. I mean, everything. It's like it's almost identical. It's like, where do you get the schematic for that? Because you can't just look at something. Like, I can't show you an iPhone and say, build me this. No. I mean, yeah, you could build a replica that looks like it, but you're not going to get something that functions like it, right? You have to have something. I don't know. That's like conspiracy theory, I guess. But somehow they're getting information that they really shouldn't. But regardless. Like they were saying with the Pez dispenser, opening and closing that door, I think is phenomenal. That's awesome. The super heavy coming in hot, hitting the Gulf of Mexico without doing its final burn. That means that was a complete loss also, which I guess is to be expected. So a couple of failures, right? They weren't able to reignite, right? They weren't able to reignite a Raptor engine in space. They weren't able to upright the Super Heavy coming back into the ocean, which they tried. And now, as far as the splashdown rotation, we don't know if it blew up or not. We don't know if it actually impacted in the ocean or if it blew up at 65 kilometers or if it was just a blackout due to that plasma ball, right? So RF radio frequency does go haywire when you're talking about plasma and you're talking about high energy fields. So hopefully they tell us what ended up happening. But either which way, it is a success because now we have a ship that actually went into orbit and did one of the things that we wanted it to do. And that is to open that Pez dispenser to be able to release Starlink satellites, the new versions. That is phenomenal. The other thing that we don't know, which I didn't hear, is were they able to move or manipulate fuel from top to bottom, right? To move fuel in zero gravity, right? Because that's going to be an important feature, like I said before, especially when we start using one of these as a gas station, right, in orbit.
Period where we saw the heat generating because of friction as the belly of Starship was making contact with the Earth's atmosphere, and that resulted in some plasma. So as Dan said before, we believe that we're in
Inductive Soul says a belly flop into the ocean from space sounds painful. I can't even imagine. Just the impact. Can you imagine the wave? Excuse me, the wave alone impacting at,
speeds in 3 minutes.
At
3.5
thousands
minutes
of
from
miles per
now.
hour, right?
If it's still up
I couldn't
there
even imagine.
in one piece, it still has a way to go. We're not there just yet. But we saw that plasma field building up around the exterior, which
so a few minutes left. So if it didn't blow up at 65 kilometers, like I said that it might have, it should be landing within about 3 minutes.
A lot of those with Dragon missions that he's supported.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'm going to stay with you guys for a few more minutes. I want to see if it landed, if they have any footage of it, if they know.
Some of the telemetry that we did, it did look like
here we go.
lost Starlink and our TDRS data flow at the exact same time. Now, if both of those signals are cutting out at the exact same time, that could mean we lost the ship. It has been several minutes since we've gotten any data from Starship. We are waiting just a couple more minutes just to see if we can get any additional confirmation, but that is one data point that we're
Sadly,
tracking.
I think I was right.
That could indicate that we had a loss or a breakup of the ship during that re-entry. So might not make it all the way to splashdown today, but we were able to get through the early phases of re-entry, hit some of that peak heating, which was just really incredible to see a Starship coming back from space after getting all those views from space for the very first time. So
if all telemetry goes, including Starlink, at the exact moment,
over the next couple of minutes, and that might bring
RUD,
close to
rapid,
a pretty successful day so far. Again, we did lose the TDRS. That's the tracking and data relay satellite. That's
yeah. So they did lose. They did lose all signal at the exact same time. So yeah, I'm going to guess that it exploded at about 65 kilometers.
And then we were also getting
in
data
space,
back through
65
Starlink.
kilometers.
Live view here.
Because that was when the telemetry stopped and Starlink stopped at the same time. So why would that happen? Well, do you remember at the very beginning, at when it flipped on its belly, and I said there was like 2 holes? It was like missing tiles. You can't miss tiles. Okay, you cannot miss tiles. The heat that it has to endure. If you're missing tiles, the heat will go. That's the weak link, right? That heat will melt that stainless steel on the backside of those tiles, the missing hole, and it will blow up. That's what happened with the space shuttle way back when I was a kid, and we lost a lot of great astronauts that day, and I actually was watching that when it blew up. And it was due to heat tiles coming off, and it blew up on re-entry.
Make it all the way
So,
to our intended splashdown. Note that we weren't intending to.
If that is the
recover this
case, they're going to really need
either,
to work on these
vehicle,
tiles.
the Super Heavy booster, nor,
Heat tiles have
the
always been an
Starship.
issue.
We
I
weren't
wish there was
intending to
another
recover
way that they
either
can
of
do
them.
it, but
They were both
these
going
ceramic,
to,
these
basically hit at
tiles
terminal
can
velocity and
withstand
break up
so much
upon
heat
contact with
that
the,
they
surface
need
of the
them.
ocean. So we're standing
There's
by
no
to
two ways
hear,
about it.
whether or not,
If there was another
we
way, they would have
are
thought
gonna
of
be
a
able to,
way, you know,
get
30 years
telemetry
ago.
readings back,
But they
we
haven't.
are,
That what they need to
possibly
do is figure out
anticipating
how
news that
to
we lost Starship
affix
due
these
to,
tiles where they don't come
basically
off.
a double blackout from TDRS and Starship, or excuse me, Starship data at the same time.
But this is it's worth mentioning. This is the first time that we have come back at these speeds.
Absolutely.
In any of the test flights that we've done so far with Starship. So we are trying to prove out that the heat shield.
See, remember, with
intended,
the
that
difference too,
controllability at those
okay,
hypersonic speeds
between
works as intended.
the Starship and the old space shuttles, is the space shuttles had wings. So since they had wings, they were able to glide in. They were able to position the nose. They would glide in, be able to change their positioning a lot easier. With this rocket, I mean, you just have those fins on the side, and if one fin goes out, the shit hits the fan. The thing will start barreling, and that's it. So those fins are a weak link, a major weak link. Those fins need to be working. I think it's 3 of them. They need to work. Those actuators need to work exact. If not, that thing, if one is off, it will start barrel rolling and it will blow up. Period. There's no way around it. Also, those heat tiles could be an issue. And I think they're going to review the footage. Maybe the footage that they gave us is not all the footage. They probably have other cameras, and they're going to have to take a look at those heat shielding to see if they did come out and how many came off.
Many screenshots and using them as my computer desktop background for, well, until the next Starship launch.
When we get even better views, I'm sure.
Exactly.
And we also hit a number of our other ambitious test objectives. We had a chance to at least initiate the commands for a propellant transfer demo within the vehicle.
Yeah, Jimbo Traveler said 3 minutes to go if it's still alive. Yeah, I think it blew up.
Before,
but
so that's a first as well.
It's okay.
We also
I mean, it did a lot. It did a lot.
We got to see that.
Once again, guys, if you got a free membership, right? Don't forget to if you got a free membership from the bomb, don't forget to thank the bomb. If you got a free membership from Shannon, give thanks. I really do appreciate it. Once again, today we got free memberships that went out to Golden Retriever, John Ross, Johan Blom, as well as Travis and Chris E. So those are all free memberships that went out to you guys. Thank you for that. Thank you.
As we were possibly expecting, we lost the data a couple of minutes ago. We haven't heard from the ship up until this point, and so the team has made the call that ship has been lost. So no splashdown today, but again, just it's incredible to see how much further we got this time around.
FAA investigation pending, of course.
That you guys were just walking through.
If
we're able to take advantage of.
If Elon Musk passes gas, there will be an FAA investigation to make sure gas was passed properly. That's just the way it is. I'm going to turn them down just a little bit because now if they say anything important, I'll let you know. I'm going to turn their volume way down. So as of right now, I'm going to say that sadly, at 65 kilometers in space is when it exploded. Now, why it exploded, we don't know, but they will know because there is a ton of onboard data that they're going to have to sift through over the next day or two, maybe a week, who knows, and just to figure out exactly what ended up happening. But look, guys, you're looking at over 4 million people watching on X without a problem. That was a feat in itself, right? That is amazing. That means X is now no longer fledgling. It is actually a viable option to oppose or to go against YouTube. Now, do they want to do that? No, but they can. Because if you could put a single stream to over 4 million, I think it was like 4.3 or more million people simultaneously, you got your shit together. I mean, that's the bottom line. That is the bottom line. Anyways, guys, look at Elon in 2002 with what is it, maracas or something. Oh my God, that's good stuff. Anyways, we'll be talking to you more about this most likely tomorrow. I'll probably do a video and maybe I'll cover some of this for the people that weren't here live. I do appreciate each and every one of you hanging out with me this morning. It was a little bit of a rough start. I had issues with the computer and this and that, but that's all right. We made it happen. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself hanging out with me this morning and watching this together. I had a blast. This is a lot of fun for me. Obviously, this is the culmination of 3 months of them working at not only building and putting together and testing and verifying the Starship 3, right, to make sure that it is viable to launch, but then also having to go through all of the fish and wildlife issues and the FAA and all the rest of these people, right? So kudos to them for being on the, I guess, taking it for the long haul and actually getting it to happen. I do believe that there will be, since it did not explode here, right? Let's say on takeoff, it had no problems. It did, let's say, be very successful. I think that the FAA is going to have less of an issue with it, as it is most likely exploded over the Indian Ocean, over Madagascar, and there's no one for hundreds and hundreds of miles. So I think the FAA is not going to have that much of a problem. They're probably going to be on site to see any type of impact that the launch had on, plants and animal life and that kind of stuff. That would be the Fish and Wildlife, the FAA, and all the rest of them will take a look at the structures around it. Was there any debris? Was there a massive debris field, or was there none? Was the actual launch pad damaged in any way, or can it be used immediately? The water deluge system just simply works. Think of the water deluge system as, like, for example, your computer. You put a heat sink on the top of your CPU, right? And that heat sink dissipates heat. That's the only thing that it does. Hence, it is now stainless steel. It's like a stainless steel over that launch pad. But also, it is now being cooled by water. Just like your CPU, if you have a water cooling system, it's now pushing water through the top of the CPU, cooling at the same time. It's the same thing that happens with the water deluge system. And last time that it ended up working perfectly, I'm going to speculate this time work perfectly also, and there's going to be no damage at all. So that's really, really good. And once again, I want to see a launch pad for the Starship here in Florida. That would be even better, because that would be 3 hours away. And most likely, I'll be there. We'll take a car trip together and go and say hello to the guys over there and watch this thing go off. That would be really, really cool. And maybe I can actually go live from the location. So we'll see what ends up happening. So anyways, guys, once again, thank you for all of the support on the channel. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for all of the, I guess, the funds that have been going through very recently. There's been a lot of people contributing to the channel, and I feel blessed. Thank you for that. It's really, really helpful. So if I don't see you guys tomorrow on Friday, have a wonderful weekend. And if not, on Monday, we will be back doing our thing. Many blessings to each and every one of you. Thank you once again for being here, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys.